Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between. I'm Ashton Gene Lewis. You're tuned into the one, the only, as far as I know, the only Broke Boys Sports Podcast. My co-host Martin is here. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a show for you today.
Yeah, we
Week
do.
three of the NFL. Week three of the NFL season's here. We got some UFC nicknames to pick for a pay-per-view. Haven't talked about a pay-per-view in a long time. We could talk about Dana White apparently not believing that Kobe Covington, who's called Brazilians animals, a racist. Anyway, we got
Yeah,
that. Apparently, the MLB playoffs are happening at some point or another.
yeah.
The other thing going on, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Somebody is on the fringe of going to the NBA Finals,
hmm
and another one is duking it out. The Nuggets and the Lakers putting in that work for our entertainment. We also got Thursday night football tonight, and Martin, it's a Florida off, baby.
Yeah,
Expect to see
we've
all
also got
kinds
the
of
beard
things.
and the mustache, Ashton. The beard and the mustache going.
Yeah, the those are choices that people make in their lives
Yeah,
about
they do.
how they want to present themselves. There's been some jabs back and forth. I'm sure it'll be a ton of fun. There's gonna be people in the stands. I think both Florida teams have people in the stands.
hmm
Other stuff going on. We gotta talk about some stuff. You already know what time it is, baby. I promise you, it hurts my heart to talk about it. I promise you, like I've said many times before, I'll stop talking about it as soon as you stop doing it. What's popping in quarantine, Martin?
Yeah, we got a couple of things popping in quarantine. I'll take the lead here before we get into what you want to talk about. I want to take just a moment here to remember the Kansas Rocket. As you know, Ashton, I'm a big fan of nicknames. And Gayle Sayers, the Kansas Rocket. When you're playing an NFL player and he's got the Rocket in his name, you know one thing and one thing only, Ashton. That man has some speed. Gayle Sayers, unfortunately, um, a Hall of Fame running back, has died at the age of 77. And I
That's
just
a
want
good
to,
run. That's a good run, man.
hey, if I make it to 77, I'll be fucking happy, dude. I'll tell you that much. But Gayle Sayers, for those of you that don't know, or if you're not really a historian of the game, as I myself am, I don't know about you, Ashton, but the old school NFL films where it looks like it's a frame by frame PowerPoint, but it's actually somebody running down the field. Gayle Sayers, one of those players. Um, and it's pretty crazy that he did make the Hall of Fame because he only played for 5 seasons in the NFL, and he made the most of those 5 seasons. His rookie year in the NFL was 1965. Ashton, in a couple minutes, you're going to get into a little bit of the race relations that are going on today in America. 1965, we can both agree those racial tensions, shall we say, were alive and well back then as well. He was a black
Yeah, so
running
the
back.
first black player or coach to ever participate in the NFL, 1920.
hmm
So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's yeah. That's how long things have been going on in America, 100 years, and we're still basically talking about the same thing. But Gayle Sayers was playing for the Chicago Bears back in the day before Sweetness himself touched the rock for the Bears. It was Gayle Sayers, the Kansas Rocket, and Ashton. On our Tuesday episodes of the Broke Boy podcast, we like to do some things that 10 things you don't need to know. This is if this was back then, this is a stat for that category. Only 3 players in the NFL have ever scored 6 touchdowns in one game. Gayle Sayers was the last player to do that. It was in December against the San Francisco 49ers, December of 1965. He had 6 touchdowns in one game. And like I said a minute ago, historians, some people that know and follow the NFL and just look back on things throughout the years, this is arguably one of the greatest performances in a single game in NFL history. Listen to these stats, Ashton. Against the San Francisco 49ers, 113 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns on only 9 carries, 89 receiving yards and a touchdown on 2 catches, and oh by the way, 134 punt return or 134 yards and a touchdown on 5 punt returns. I mean, if you had Gayle Sayers in fantasy back in 1965, that performance right there probably won you a week by yourself.
it's been big loss. Gayle Sayers is a true legend of the game, man, and you can't call yourself a fan of football and been around for a good chunk of time and not know some of these legendary names. Gayle Sayers epitomizes the story of why epitomizes the definition of how Hall of Famers are voted on, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
We're always told by the likes of Peter King, a ancient man himself. He's seen quite a lot. He always talks about how some people look at the Hall of Fame in the through the lens of, can you tell the story of the NFL without this player?
Yep.
And without Gayle Sayers, you cannot. So,
100%.
R.I.P. rest in peace to a real legend of the game, and he paved the way for so many others like him afterwards. Never going to be duplicated. Another guy like Gayle Sayers, and if you can't tell, I saw Billy D. Williams wrote a very touching tweet about his friend Gayle Sayers. So shout out to him on that one, and thank Gayle Sayers for making sports the way it is today, man. Because all those dudes who were playing through really tumultuous times when nobody knew if the league was going to really stick, nobody knew if the whole integration of sports was going to work out very well, because there's some people that they prided themselves on the idea of black people are going to take over sports and no white people will ever be able to play ever again and all this kind of stuff like that, which by the way is a heavy underestimation of white athletes, which never. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, shout out to Gayle Sayers, a true legend of the game, and paving the way for you and I to be able to even have this podcast right now, because
I'm one of those people. I love the old school videos, the NFL, just watching the players play back then. It was a totally fucking different time, and that's a very generalized statement. I mean, just looking at the field, if you go back and see the field that Gayle Sayers had his greatest game against the 49ers, it was December, and it was just a muddy, proper, when you think of sports as a kid and stuff, when you're out there in the rain and it was just sloshy football. It's that good stuff.
The image of grit.
Yes.
The definition of grit.
It's just awesome to see. And some of his highlights, man, I mean, you see Barry Sanders, you see Sweetness, all these guys from from yesteryear of the NFL, and he could fit right in today's NFL. And just one last thing on Gayle Sayers, the Kansas Rocket. He is the youngest person to ever be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, and it is going to be quite it'll be hard for anybody to top that, because like I said, he was only in the NFL from 1965 to 1970. Unfortunately, 2 knee injuries in his last couple of seasons were the reason that he wasn't as successful. And if you just go and look at his stats, he is a box score filler. I mean, he almost had more punt return yards in his career than he did rushing yards, and just some things like that are just impressive to me. So shout out to one of the greats. It sucks that he's gone, but he left a lasting impact on the NFL. And if you're a if anyone's out there listening that wants to be a running back or just an athlete in general, just go and look at some of the things that he did, and you'll be nothing but impressed, and you can learn a lot from Gayle Sayers.
All right, I'll take that as my cue to start this.
Yeah, this is what's popping in quarantine for Ashton.
What's popping in quarantine for me? I'm not angry, just disappointed. Apparently, if you're gonna add Breonna Taylor's name to a long list of people who looks like from the viewpoint that we have now and what's going on in the world, it's gonna be just another story you tell other black kids to really. I know some of you guys grew up with the boogeyman. You can only imagine how black people feel about the cops and how that is basically the same thing. Especially when you hear the stories of Rodney King and Emmett Till, and the stories of a 12-year-old boy, Tamir Rice, who was shot almost instantaneously upon cops showing up to a playground to investigate whether or not he was playing with a real gun. So, Breonna Taylor, and I'll tell this story from the top, because if there's anything that's going on the internet right now, it is people trying to push, and it's a good chunk of bots, but there's some real people behind those keyboards that are still typing out incorrect facts. There is a drug dealer involved in this story, not involved in the shooting, but there's a drug dealer involved with this story. Breonna Taylor used to date a man who is allegedly a drug dealer. Don't think he's been brought up on any charges, or well, he hasn't been brought. He's actually a fugitive right now, from what I understand, because he didn't pay his bail or whatever. Brought up on charges of drug trafficking during the investigation. During an investigation that involved a tracking device put upon his white Charger, photos taken as they tracked his every movement across the entire city. During the course of that investigation, this man drove to Breonna Taylor's house 6 different times to pick up packages, it seems, which have now been refuted by, I believe, the postmaster in Louisville to be attempts to traffic drugs through her house using her address. That investigation led for a judge to verify and allow warrants for not only the trap house where this drug dealer was, but also the house of Breonna Taylor, because she was suspected to have drugs and money hidden within her house somewhere. They picked up the drug dealer. The cops went and scooped up the drug dealer in a raid. 3 other cops went to the other location, which is very far away from where they picked up the actual drug dealer in this situation. The man that was in prison got out on bond. They showed up to her house at about midnight. According to the police themselves that were on site, confirmed that they announced themselves. They had a no-knock warrant, which is a warrant that allows for cops to just bang in and enter the door upon suspect of a dangerous criminal, I would imagine, because if you're dealing with a drug dealer, typically they have to defend those drugs and they have to defend those large sources of money because other people, like money and drugs. So they usually have guns around and usually are quite accustomed to violence. That's just the nature of drug trafficking and its illicit and its illegal nature, right? You gotta defend yourself. You can't hire private security for a drug dealer in most cases. But cops show up. They, according to them, announce themselves. According to one other person in the building, despite other people refuting the report, they announced themselves despite having a no-knock warrant, which was turned into a knock warrant, by the way, before they went out there. But the cops said they elected to announce themselves. There are no body cams on these police officers because they're not required during raids, which, if you've seen a raid before, the only reason you've ever seen a raid on camera is because when raids happen, there are cameramen assigned, legit guys that are assigned to record the raid going on so that they can see the situation before the cops, which, if you've ever looked at what LAPD did during the crack epidemic in California, they would literally destroy your entire house in search of drugs, and in some cases not come up with anything, and in cases as well, they would be spot on the money and find drugs, right? They would break every part of a chest of drawers. They would break every door inside the house. They would literally run through, as many described it, looked like a tornado hit a house when a raid happened. There were no cameras involved with this. The cops, according to their police report, did not force their way in, despite the fact that there are images of the door and despite the fact that there are reports by other people, and apparently, like eyewitnesses, they used a battering ram to enter the building. They used a battering ram to enter the home. Upon entering the home, or during the attempt to enter the home, Kenneth Walker, who's the boyfriend of the now deceased Breonna Taylor, heard somebody trying to break literally down the door of his girlfriend's apartment. And as one does, both of them got up, terrified. I can't even imagine how they felt. Kenneth Walker pulled out his gun and fired at the people who were forcing their way inside of his home, inside of Breonna Taylor's home. And in response, a police officer let out 10 shots, some of which hit and killed Breonna Taylor. A EMT, person who, according to her mother, was dedicating her life to saving other people's lives. Dedicating her life to save other people's lives. She's no longer with us because of a cop blindly shooting into a building. A lot of people naturally pissed off, especially when a cop went into a citizen's house, an American citizen's house, because there had been no charges filed. There was no evidence that she'd actually been involved in any drug trafficking. As a matter of fact, the drug dealer, who was her ex-boyfriend, who she had distanced herself from, told those officers that she was not involved with his drug trafficking at all, in any way, shape, or form. Take that as how you may. But Breonna Taylor was killed via an officer discharging his weapon, right? Cops murdered Breonna Taylor in her own home for something she didn't do. They searched the entire home. There were no drugs or any money found in the entire home. And I'm led to believe that cops know how to search a place to find money. They've probably seen all kinds of places that money are hidden and drugs are hidden and all kinds of stuff like that. So what they were looking for was not there. So it makes it even more sense that Breonna Taylor is no longer here. If you've seen the Black Lives Matter movement, or just really the same movement that black people and really people of color, and now a lot of other white people as well, because there've always been white people who have joined in, even with Martin Luther King, that joined in with the fight for equality. This is the fight for equality because yesterday, sorry, Martin, I guess this is a great time to point out what today is. Today is September 24th, 2020. September 23rd, 2020, charges have been handed out to one of the three officers who were involved with the murder of Breonna Taylor. The charges are not for killing an American citizen. The charges are for missing.
Yeah, dude. That's
The charges are for the strength of the gun that was utilized. Apparently, this is like common knowledge to gun people. The weapons that cops use are like, they are known to go through multiple, or the weapons that were used in that raid were known to be able to go through multiple walls. So which by the way, yeah, you should be charged for endangering the lives of other people during your drug raid, but you should also be charged for killing an innocent person in the process of you trying to forcefully enter somebody's house, knowing that you are not dressed like a police officer, and from what we understand, did not identify yourself. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm not a detective, I'm not a police officer, never have been one. Really got nothing against the cops. I've already told the story about how I've been lied to for somebody to search my car on the side of the road in a Texas highway, in a situation where, like, legit, I thought I was about to get arrested for nothing, literally. But it's really hard to take the cops at their word in this situation because of the falsified police report, where the cops wrote on the police report that Breonna Taylor sustained no injuries in the process of the raid, despite being dead. The other thing, they said that they did not forcefully enter the home, which, if both of those things were true, this story would make no sense whatsoever. We wouldn't be talking about it, right? We'd be talking about how, like, wow, that's fucked up. The cops just rolled up on somebody with no evidence against them or whatever. According to the police, they have photos of her hanging out with consistently with the man who was arrested for drug trafficking, which is a misdemeanor, the level that they were talking about in his case. They have a tracking device that proves that he consistently went to go see her, thus making her somewhat of an accomplice, because he went to go see her like 6 times in January. But anyway, the other things to talk about in that situation, they said they did not forcefully enter the home. They used a battering ram. That's been found to be true. There were 2 lies on a police report that, the cops were supposedly in the right to go to her house and bust down the door and check and see if she had drugs and money, right? They're supposedly in the right to go do that. Breonna Taylor is no longer with us. Only one of those cops has been charged in relation, and I say relation, to her death and her murder. And it is yet another shout out to Frosty Nugs for hopping in the chat and telling me the Texans suck. We'll talk about that later. Breonna Taylor is no longer with us. Her family has been paid out $12 million. And I bet you goddamn sure they trade every single one of those dollars to get Breonna Taylor back. But that's not how it works.
Yeah. And for the people that are just really quickly, Ashton, for the people that are like, well, why is this isn't sports related? Like, I'm pretty sure you were going to get to it, but the social media reaction to it, it's crazy how, like, social media now is like the go-to, like, every, like, end all be all type of thing. And you mentioned it, the bots are in full fucking whatever. And yeah, they like it's.
I just wanted to recount the story
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
there's people who are still saying that the drug dealer that they were there to arrest was Kenneth Walker, the man who shot back at the cops. Thus, the cops shot back at him blindly, not knowing where he was. That's not true.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker is just a guy that is Breonna Taylor's boyfriend.
Yeah.
The drug dealer they were looking for, and I don't know how many times they can say this for you. I'll say it one more time. He was already in custody. He was already arrested.
Yeah, that's where that's for me mistake number one.
It's another layer of like, damn, this makes Breonna Taylor's death even more senseless.
Yeah. So no one's getting charged with her dying. The only charge is shots missing the intended target, which at this point is the boyfriend. They're getting one of the three. Like it just like when the charges were coming down yesterday, Ashton and I were texting each other, and like I even texted him. I was like, wow, it looks like they may have like met in the middle.
And like, by the way, Martin, when you told me that, I was like, "There's no fucking way." Like, but like as a black person, I can tell you, like me and my black friends that I talk to is just like, we all know what's about to happen. Like, they don't have it on camera. It's cops' word versus everybody else's word, even though there's direct contradiction of what the cops' word is. They fired the cat who sent the sketchy ass email at 2:00 in the morning. Y'all should really look into that. That's wild as fuck. He said that what he did was just legal and moral that night. So if that doesn't, and he also said it's good versus evil.
Yeah.
So you should definitely check that out. I'm not gonna speak on that anymore because that's all up for interpretation, right? All I know is Breonna Taylor's dead, and one of these cops about to get a slap on the wrist. The other two on administrative leave. One of them has been fired. The man who's been charged has been fired. And subsequently, they started rioting in Louisville.
Yeah.
I hate to be this guy, but do you blame him? If you do, hit me up on Twitter at FB_playbook. Hit us up in the chat. I'm really not here. I'm really not here for it, bro.
Yeah. But the reason it's sports related, because that's one of the things I saw especially on social media, is like.
And Martin.
It's because we listened for the past 6 months for I just want to get this out there. We've literally listened for the past 6 months or however long it's been about athletes talking. Like we have literally seen and heard them talking about like this case, and like the Breonna Taylor and the George Floyd case are like the two most prominent ones right now. So for the people to say like, how is this sports related? We're like, it's sports related because they've been trying to fucking bring it up and bring it to your attention. Like this fucking happened. No matter like what side of the fucking argument you're on, this fucking happened and this woman's life was taken from. Like that's where it relates into sports and stuff. And I fucking can't stand going on social media after shit like this happens. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. I was just gonna say, man, like, I mean, trying to shoehorn it into sports is pointless, bro. Like, this is Breonna Taylor's an American citizen who had cops run up in her house with a loose amount of evidence. Like, to be honest with you, bro, like when raids happen, like I'm assuming they didn't seen them snorting off a mountain of cocaine or whatever, but or there's like a history, which by the way, both of those people in that building have no history of a criminal record. So it's just one of those things, bro. It's one of those things. Every black person you meet probably not angry. Every black person you know not mad. I know a lot of other people mad on the internet, but they're not mad. They either disappointed. Like I was legit watching Celtics versus Heat and couldn't give a fuck less about what that game was going on. But and it turned out to be a game that Tyler Hero came out there and fucking dominated and came out looking like a superstar.
Yep.
It was just one of those things, man, where I was just like, I've never my care about sports has never been at zero until like last night. I like wrote on Facebook about like how anger is the one emotion that I've always had to repress in my entire life. Because angry black man is dangerous for the angry black man, right? I've always been told I can't be angry. I've seen other people lash out at the world, and I can't do that because that's just how the world is, man. Last night I realized like what that toll takes on you as a person. Been repressing that emotion for a really long time in my entire life. And last night, it just all kind of like, I wish I could get angry because even the people I was talking to, they didn't want to hear it because it was other black people. They're like, dude, I'm tired of hearing this shit. And it's just like, I ain't never felt like I felt last night, man. And I didn't even know Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, that's fucking
And
crazy.
it, once again, like I think I've said this before. People legitimately ask me, do I think this is gonna happen to me at some point? I'm like, of course, because it can happen to anyone, and then they'll just write you off. They'll probably bring up the speeding tickets I had when they if they ever kill me. So, whatever. Anyway, that's what's popping in quarantine for me. Not angry, just heartbroken. Just know it too can happen to you, but it won't. Unless you look a certain way. Whatever.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. I mean, without getting too much into it, when people like when I hear you and other black people that I know and just like hear the stories and stuff, like I'm white. I'm not American. I sound American, but I'm British, right? But I 100% have lived through the white privilege side of it. Getting pulled over in college with a pound of weed on me. Um, if you and two of your black friends were driving back to College Station at midnight from Houston and got pulled over with a pound of weed, I don't think it would have ended the same way as it.
I'd still be in jail to this day.
I mean, long story short, we just had to ground up a pound of weed with our feet in the ground, and then that was it. Like,
yeah, man.
like that was it. Like, we got like I'm not going to go too much into detail, but like it, I mean, it's and the only reason we got pulled over, the cop even told us, was because he was practicing his policing eye. So like when I hear shit like this and like the shit that black people have to go through, man, it's not just black people, it's people of color. Like, and I saw the people bring up the no knock raid that happened in Houston where the two white people got killed and it was the wrong house and all that stuff. Like, you should be pissed off about that.
It's almost like it's wrong no matter who it happens
exactly to. That's the thing. I don't think I like you just said it right there. Like, it should piss you off no matter who it is. Like, you should, like, the people defending the cops, you should be pissed off that from the top down there was mistakes made to the point where this happened. That's like, you can have your thoughts uh, on the shooting, whatever, but to look at it and be like, the guy they wanted was already in custody, like, that for me is mistake number fucking one. Like,
yeah,
where's the fucking the
like,
protocol had been like calling it in? Like, did nobody else in the police department know these three dudes were running this raid?
Like, so I told you I talked to an attorney, a guy who is a lawyer that works. He's a lawyer. He's not a criminal lawyer. So I talked to him at the cigar place that I go to, High Cigar Lounge. Shout out to them. First cigar place I went to, and they were actually nice to me. Everybody else is just, it's like you're in somebody's living room, which is a nice feeling. Anyway, I talked to him and I was just like, come on, man, what's the deal? And he was just like, dude, he's like, those bullets killed Breonna Taylor, but the system failed her.
Yeah, he's like 100%.
The fact that the warrant was ever even issued for her as a no-knock warrant, as a person who you had like speculation about what she had. Like, no, like, hard evidence. They have photos of her hanging out with a guy, and they assumed that she was in the web or whatever. And it's just one of those things, man. He's a lawyer, and he was just like, bro, like, that warrant should have never been issued. They should have never been there. They should have never been in that situation. I will say this. I hope those two cops who were shot during the Louisville protests are okay, and I hope those people that shot them are held accountable, because those, like, it don't fucking matter. Like, wrong is wrong, dog.
Yeah. We've already talked about we've talked an eye for an eye isn't the way to go about this.
Man, and shout out to all those people who had the balls to go out there, and probably were already prepared because they knew what the fuck was gonna happen, because they set a state of emergency in Louisville before the charges came down, because you already knew what time it was. So they already knew what it was. And shout out to all those people who were brave enough to go out there in the streets and protest and stand up for the rights of American citizens. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll talk about sports here.
Yep.
We
It's
got
hard. It's a
best of
hard
the best.
transition here, Ashton.
I mean, you just gotta do it. You just
Yeah.
gotta do it. You already know. I mean, if you know, you know. If you're a person who read what happened, you knew what happened. If you're black or if you're a person of color and you've seen it happen before, it'll keep happening. Unless we do something about it. And
One thing you can
not
do is
talking
vote.
about it, we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it because if
Yep.
you stop talking about it, like we're about to talk about somebody who we need to stop talking about. If you stop talking about it, it takes the oxygen away from them.
Yeah.
Best of the best, man. Martin came up with this, so I'm gonna let him take it, man.
Yeah. There was a very select few options for best of the best, especially after the Breonna Taylor thing came down. But it's just it's another one of those solemn weeks. You know, I mean, we're waiting for the NBA playoffs to get to the finals. The NFL is just kicking off. But the COVID-19 testing for week 2, which for the NFL is September 13th through the 19th. This is the best of the best for me, Ashton, because you and I, for a lot of episodes, talked about what's going to happen when the NFL comes back because they're not doing a bubble. You and I were both in agreement that the bubble is the right way to go. We can look at the NBA and the MLS as a success story. And then the MLB, they started out and had the troubles. They've kind of righted the ship.
Yeah, same thing with the WNBA. The
Yep.
WNBA's gotten to the point where like the news is like if one person tests positive because it's like how the fuck that happened. Anyway,
yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying, man, the NFL they out here in the wild. They out here amongst the people.
Yep.
It seems like, and they came up with five out of 7,845 people.
Yep. And it's not no players either. So 36,000.
They were all personnel people.
Yeah, 36,664 tests were administered to a total of 7,845 players and team personnel from September 13th to the 19th. 14,000 of those were given to the. I'm not going to get into those detail of the numbers, but 0 confirmed tests among the players, and as Ashton just mentioned, 5 new confirmed positive tests among other personnel. All this information is courtesy NFLcommunications.com, which is like one of the PR sites for the NFL where they put out information like this. And I think you even mentioned on Tuesday. We were kind of
wrong.
Yeah, we were kind of wrong.
I'm gonna say it again.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I was starting to see like they ain't making it out of week 1 because, like I said before, I mentioned it before. I even gave evidence where I was like, I see these dudes flying around the country training with these cats, like in different states. Like Eric Ebron for the Pittsburgh Steelers was here in Houston like in July. And I can name off like a bunch of other dudes. They were all on Footwork King's Instagram. And I don't know. I mean, shout out to Footwork King for keeping it clean down there. Apparently. Keeping it clean, keeping people away from each other and shit like that. Because the NFL players are clean, college football players can't say the same. Because for all y'all people that are celebrating the Big Ten starting up and all this kind of shit like that, coming back in October, they didn't cancel games they have postponed because the word cancel is like a huge buzzword, right?
Yeah.
They postponed multiple games every single week of the college football season. And it's not Power 5 conferences competing.
Yeah. Hasn't U of H, University of Houston, isn't it like 4 straight weekends that
so they're playing this weekend versus USF apparently. I thought they were talking about USF had like too many people pop or something like that.
Yeah,
because the week before. Yeah, you might have to check that one because I know somebody who got an email telling them to come out to U of H because they had like free tickets or whatever. They said they were going to be at like 25% capacity or some shit like that. But the other ones last week, they lost their game versus Baylor because too many dudes, like one person or like a couple people tested positive. And the whole way that college football things work is like if you're in vicinity of that person consistently, because they are tracking like where you are. And if you're in vicinity of that person for like a certain period of time, you get pulled out because like that makes sense. Like you close to a person that's positive, like, or in a football situation with somebody that's positive or whatever, it makes sense that you shouldn't be around other people because you could just be in the incubation period for COVID-19. And then, next week, the whole team's sick. Yeah. And they lost, I want to say they lost an entire position group. And the same thing happened with Tennessee. Notre Dame was playing Wake Forest this upcoming weekend. They had to postpone that game because Notre Dame had too many people test positive and in the vicinity of the people that test positive. They shut down all sporting activities on campus. So That includes football and all the other sports that they're training up too, man. So it's wild. It really was.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up here. Fifth game so far this season that U of H has had to either postpone or cancel. It was supposed to be North Texas this weekend, and it's
Okay,
North Texas is a team that didn't have enough players at the position, and so they've
there you
decided to
go.
pull out. And apparently, two teams are working to find a date to reschedule it. But U of H,
By the way, that's just happening at the high school level too. You've been watching that.
not as closely. But
So I follow Matt Stepp. Follow him on Twitter at it's just Matt Matt, and then Stepp with two P's. So follow him on Twitter. He's like the Texas high school football guru. He's like the hottest dude on the block right now. And coaches calling him to try and find opponents
yeah.
because people dropping out left and right. So, and I'm not here to question anything that those communities are doing, but putting kids in a condensed and controlled area like a school typically allows for the spread of diseases.
Yep. So that's the best of the best, Ashton. NFL COVID-19
Shout out to the
testing.
NFL.
So
Shout out to the NFL, bro.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing well. Hopefully it stays on. It sucks that 5 people got it. We hope it stays at 0 for both players and personnel. But
Right.
if 36,000 tests are done and only 5 of those are positive, I take that as a best of the best. Especially when you and I both were kind of on the fence on if it would work or not. So this leads us into worst of the worst. I will not be saying this man's name. Ashton, you can say it.
I'll say it one time so y'all know who we're talking about.
If,
Outkick the coverage with Dr. Clay Travis and his crony Jason Whitlock. He one of 3 black people on the face of the planet that I call a coon. So the other 2, we can talk about that some other time. One of them you already know. I've mentioned her on this show before, and if I said her, you know exactly what I'm talking about. She the most famous one on the face of the planet. Let's be for real. Jason Whitlock. I said his name twice. I apologize. Out here at it again. So Jason Whitlock wrote a column for that website that he works for. You can figure it out. And in the course of the column, which apparently is like all over the place, like it's just like a flurry of emotions that came out of his. It must have been on his spirit. It had to be. It was on his spirit, Martin. He just let it flow. Apparently with grammatical errors and all kinds of misquoting, because apparently Katie Nolan was misquoted again. So it makes you wonder. Anyway, he wrote a column about Maria Taylor possibly forcing her career down the tubes because she's embracing victimhood and woke left-wing politics, which is interesting because most people would consider what Maria Taylor did and what happened to fuckface McNeil last week be holding someone accountable for their actions. Because apparently in Jason Whitlock's world, you can say whatever you want and there are no consequences for it, which sounds pretty un-American to me. So, victimhood. Somebody literally called her out specifically, right? Like, just whatever. Anyway, y'all heard what happened to Maria Taylor last week. In the process of him writing this column, he said this about Katie Nolan. Her beauty has transformed Nolan from a bartender to a 7-figure personality, Emmy Award winner, and the darling of aroused bloggers and TV critics, willing to ignore her pedestrian humor and inability to execute live television.
Do you want to have the first take, or you want me to take it? Because I can discredit that at least the second fucking part real fucking quick, Ashton.
Apparently they just be handing out Emmys. I didn't know that. What did we sign up?
Huh?
What do we sign up for?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a fucking Emmy. I mean, we're not. I don't know if Ashton and I are the best looking people in the world, but I mean, I'll fucking take an Emmy and a 7-figure contract with the ESPN.
Hey, baby, you trying to tell me? You trying to tell me this face is worth 7 figures? I'll take it. You know what I mean? What's up? What's up? Anyway, go ahead, Martin. You got it, man. I'll save mine. Yeah.
All right. So, in this quote that you literally just said from the article, inability to execute live television. Yo, bro. You failed at ESPN and Fox Sports. Like, you do realize your inability to execute live TV is the reason you are no longer working for the 2 leading sports networks in this country, right? Like, you have went on ESPN, you have went on Fox Sports, and your ratings are so bad that they have let your contract go. Yeah, Ashton and I are a little ass fucking podcast. You can fucking write it if you were to ever have the fucking balls to come at us for coming at you, bro.
I'm gonna
Your
need you to come
ratings are
say,
so
hey.
bad at the fucking network that are like Skip Bayless still has a fucking job.
And Skip Bayless said that you're a coward for talking about your depression at one point. So not even like Skip Bayless probably said things that are worse than what Jason Whitlock has said, and that's saying a lot. A lot. Because Jason Whitlock has said some absolutely despicable things as a human being. Stuff enough to get him fired from the Associated Press, right? Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
Oh
Just
yeah, I even
along with
forgot to mention that you lost your job with the Associated Press, dude. Come on, man. How are you gonna say that Katie Nolan doesn't deserve to be on TV when you have literally been let go from ESPN and Fox Sports, and you can be like, oh no, it was my decision to leave. Yeah, dude, it was your
nobody
decision to
buys that,
leave
bro.
being on TV to go for the website that Clay Travis runs. That
The fringe edgy website that Dr. Clay Travis runs. I just want, hey, Martin, I need you. Martin, he predicted that only 8,000 people would die from the coronavirus and said it so flippantly. You have to respect his medical degree. Call him by his name, Dr. Clay Travis.
nah,
Show him some respect.
nah, he don't get no.
Just like he respects your life because he thinks 8,000 ain't a lot of people to die from a disease. Show him some fucking respect. Call him Dr. Clay Travis.
So just to round out, I've got a couple more takes before Ashton can say his side of things. So, if anybody tuned into last Thursday's episode, and I believe the episode before that, we've spent the past few episodes talking about men critiquing women in sports just doing their job. You know that, right?
And
Like for some reason, I don't understand.
big difference between one unifying thing between all those men. Um, not to judge or anything like that. Of course, everybody loves in different ways. For some reason, both of them dudes don't got a neck. Like they, or is it they don't have a neck or is they don't have a chin?
Or
Which one is?
the Chicago dude, he didn't have a chin. It kind of just
All blurred
all
together.
just morphed into it. I don't.
Yeah,
I
Jason.
can.
Yeah, and you know the wild part is like that his name is Dan McNeil. Apparently, like their numbers are down 40%, which by the way happened to like a shit ton of radio stations in Houston.
Mhm.
Like people just dropping like off the cliff when it comes to radio because people aren't in their cars anymore. That happens, but nonetheless. Jason Whitlock, of all people, to open his mouth about somebody else's appearance is hilarious to me.
And saying that's the only reason, like this, to say that.
Right. To take a person that makes other human beings laugh, that other people enjoy, to take a person that really, like wholeheartedly, Martin, is all positivity, right?
Right? Like, have you
all
not?
all positive energy. Like objectively, a person who only puts positive energy into the world. She even lets you make fun of her for being a Patriots fan, right? Like she's self-deprecating. She is meaner to herself than you ever could be. And you were like, nah, let me make sure that you're being completely mean to yourself. Sorry, Martin, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. He's obviously never watched Always Late with Katie Nolan, the show that
yes,
before, like that. I think I might have mentioned it last week. That was that was on Tuesday's episode. At one point, Katie Nolan's show was the only reason I had ESPN Plus, because it is, I mean, it's funny. It was sports related, and it was so well done. Like it was almost like making fun of late night shows that you see on like normal TV and stuff. But I enjoyed every single episode. And this is my final point. Are Katie Nolan and Maria Taylor pretty? Hell fucking yeah, they are.
yeah.
Hell fucking yeah, they are. And I don't want to bring other people into this argument. And he hasn't done nothing but excel at his job. But for an example, what about Field Yates? He works for ESPN. He got there about the same time that Katie Nolan and a couple of the other newer faces at ESPN got there. So Field Yates, I think we can all agree, is a good-looking human being. There's no denying that Field Yates excels at his craft. So does Homeboy think Field Yates only has his job because he's good looking and has females
No, of
tuning
course
in?
not, because he's a man.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like
like,
the
no,
reason.
because he got here because like there's no way that men have ever been given a job because they look good.
Oh yeah, like it's wild to think that you only say that about Katie Nolan. That wait, what was it? Aroused bloggers. Like, bro.
Yeah, man, it's a reach. But I'll go back to it's just so many blatant examples of just wow, man. You really thought that you really woke up today and you thought that was the move, huh? You woke up the other day, you thought that was the move.
No, he knew what he was
I will
doing.
say, this. Uh, as usual, everything that he says is not worth your time. Once again, I point out and I reiterate, you think about the person who's putting the positivity and the person who's putting the negativity into the world. He thinks he's just telling it like it is, when really, in reality, he's just out here bullshitting. Like he's really tapping in to, once again, Martin, we have to address this like really dark factor of it all. There's a lot of dudes who just flat out agree with Jason Whitlock, right? There's a lot of dudes who agree with him in terms of like his existence. They agree on the fact of like women shouldn't be involved in sports because women don't play professional sports that I respect in any way, shape, or form. That's how some dudes think in the world, right? He, thanks to that shit, thanks to what he wrote, of course, sent a wave of hate and love at Katie Nolan. And as a person who listens to her podcast every week, Sports with a question mark with Katie Nolan, she not only, first of all, she has some really good comebacks. At one point, some dude was like, "How did she even get her job, bro?" And then she just commented back like, "Sucked a lot of dicks, bro."
Yeah,
So,
I want to give her some props for how she handled it. I mean, yeah. Then it turned. What did she put her? She put her page on private, and then Homeboy.
they took it as a
Hey,
win.
we just got a follow a second ago. Urban Meyer on Twitter just gave us, excuse me, on Twitch.tv/Rogue Boy Sports. The account Urban Meyer just followed us. So thank you for the follow.
I'm not gonna use my hot take that I normally have for Urban Meyer, but never mind. We'll talk about that later. He, by the way, if you want to hear what Urban Meyer's been up to, he was on Pat McAfee's show Tuesday. He's on the Pat McAfee show, so go listen to that. Pat McAfee's had only one thing that I heavily disagree with him with, and is that him clowning intelligent people for thinking that they could stop football.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk about that some other day. Jason Whitlock, like we said before, as usual, not worth your time. His opinion doesn't matter. A lot of people taking advantage of this time to stop saying his name.
Yeah, I'm not like when it goes back to the dude last week from Chicago that when I know for a fact, when I know for a fact that you're only putting this stuff out to get clicks and to have people put your name in their mouths, I'm not gonna say you're not gonna get it from me. Like you're not, you're not gonna, you don't deserve it. You don't. You can't say you can't fail at ESPN. You can't fail at like. You actually have it written down, Ashton. This is one of your takes, and I'm gonna steal it from you. You can't be a disgraced TV host and writer and be sent to this website that is for the better.
Like we said, on the fringe.
Yeah,
on the fringe for a reason, because once again, a website that's supposed to be about sports, right, called Outkick the Coverage, that has been spreading the coronavirus isn't real shit. Trutherism type stuff. Shout out to Urban Meyer for hopping in the chat, though. We're doing great, man.
Yep.
I have a question. Urban, how's your heart? Moving on, Martin. There you go.
Yeah, you got anything? We've already spent too much time talking about this guy, so if you've got anything else to say, I just want to give props to Katie Nolan. I listened to her podcast this past week, Sports with Katie Nolan. She talked about it. She addressed it. They did a great job of not saying his name, but they did address the fact that she has felt, and really, if you listen to her podcast as a whole, they have a segment called a mental health check where they just talk about how they're feeling mentally. They've gone through like massive waves of depression. They've gone through bouts of that, and the only thing that's really been helping them keep it together is the podcast. Ashley Brabant, shout out to her. Hopefully she'll still be working at ESPN. I heard her contract was up on the last episode. Katie Nolan addressed something that I feel like a lot of dudes who work in sports media have that feeling of: imposter syndrome. If you've never heard of that, it's the concept of you succeed to a level that you start to question if you're even good.
you start to question of like, yo, did I just trick all these people into thinking I'm good by doing and being myself? Even though like 99% of the time you actually worked hard and got yourself into that position off the merit of your skill and talent, just like the situation with Katie Nolan. She talked about how she already was feeling like, hey, I don't really understand what my role is at ESPN, especially even ESPN doesn't understand what her role is in ESPN, right? Because she is trying to usher in like a new wave of people who are involved in sports media, a different type of person. She hits on an audience that is very unique that a lot of people didn't think even existed in sports. Because if you know the deal, it's the 18 to 35 demo of young, or it's the 18 to 35 male demo that everybody's just obsessed with in sports. Katie Nolan gets people who are outside of that to pay attention to ESPN, pay attention to sports, and dominates in that category. There's not many people who are like on her level. But anyway, Katie addressed her imposter syndrome. I will say, hands down, a lot of the times when we do this podcast, I feel the same way because we have back to back months where we have 100+ downloads, and I was just like, man, it'd be cool if somebody. I used to think like, man, it'd be cool if people like check in and out and like listen sometimes. People are like listening consistently when we finish this podcast, and I don't know, like a high level. I don't even know who these people are. Like some of them are my friends and some of them are your friends, but like I don't know who these other people are that are listening to the podcast. Yeah. And
I know I don't have 100 friends, Ashton. I don't know about you. I don't have what was it, 100? What are we at, 120 plus on Tuesday's episode? I ain't got that many friends, bro. I do know a couple of people that have reached out to me and said like they listen to an episode every now and then, and now they subscribe. So I mean, yeah, and you and I have a legitimate conversation just yesterday. That's literally imposter syndrome. Like, we both are like, where, like, it's wild and it's crazy, and that's something we can connect with Katie. She's open about that. When's the last time you heard Jason Whitlock talk about like, oh my God, I just fucking said his name. I can't believe he did it. He fucking won. When's the last time we heard him talk about like his insecurities? Because all we see from him is, or at least all I've ever seen from him
is judgment of other people.
Yes. And right before we went live, like one of the reasons we were a little late going live is because it's going viral right now on Twitter. And I was going to mention it in media suggestions, but we might as well just talk about it right now. AI, Allen Iverson, went in on the All the Smoke podcast talking about this gentleman that we are talking about right now.
Oh, worst of the worst. You use gentleman as a loose term, but okay.
This male that we're talking about, I mean, it's 2020. We can't.
This human being, as far as we know, dude. He is a person. Yeah. So yeah, it's going wild, and it's like he intentionally doesn't say his name, but he's like, "Bitch, I know you know I'm talking about you."
Yeah, and
I fucking hate you too.
Because if and people don't remember this is a long. You gotta remember when AI was in the league. This was like early 2000s when this came out. He put out an article saying that people weren't tuning in to watch AI because of AI's tattoos. And some people agreed with him on that one because he was a black dude that happened to have tattoos. You know what
that? I mean, we all know, like Martin. We know what that is. It's the same shit why Kanye West's concerts look a lot different than they used to 10 years ago. It's the same thing because it's like he gets down with a certain group of people now, and they use him as like a weapon against black people. They're like, see, why can't you be more like him?
Yeah, I just want to know if. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like that's the typical method. Like it's like why can't you be more like this guy? Why can't you be more like this guy? And it's like those dudes just agree with your opinions. It doesn't make them better than me. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's whatever.
Just a question before we move on to about a week ago. Did he write that same article about the Birdman when he played for the Denver Nuggets? Just putting it out there.
It's great question. Shout out to Mike Anderson, by the way.
Hey, no hate to the Birdman. Love his tattoos, but if you're gonna say people aren't watching
talking about the NBA Birdman, do not tell Birdman. Do not tell the other Birdman that we were talking shit about him. Please don't, because we were not.
I ain't talking shit about nobody except for he who not to be named.
We're talking about Mike Anderson from the NBA. He used to play for the Miami Heat. Anyway, but yeah, Martin.
Okay.
Go ahead, man.
About
I
a
think we're
week
done with
ago,
it.
yeah, about a week ago, Ashton. This one is you tossed this one out there, and both of us have talked on air and off air about mental health. Right? It's not front, or it should be front and center, but it's one of those topics that this gets swept under the rug, and so you can take away about a week ago.
Yeah, man. About a week ago, I mentioned on Tuesday's episode, I believe, on Sunday, the Cowboys played the Falcons in one of the craziest comeback games ever. And afterwards, Hayden Hurst, who is a man I've mentioned on this podcast many a time for many different reasons. I told you to listen to his ESPN Daily episode so you can hear his whole fucking story because it is wild. From minor league baseball to back to college to playing college football to making it to the NFL, now playing for the Atlanta Hawks. A man who, at one point in his life, when he did not seek out the help that he needed, because, bravado and don't need that kind of shit. The bravado that he could not muster, or I'm sorry, the machismo of playing sports, right? He used to drink himself to sleep because the voices in his head, the voices were so dark. They were telling him to hurt himself. They were telling him to hurt others. They were telling him to, end himself, right? And Hayden has taken what he, at one point in his life, held as shame and turned it into not only honesty towards himself to help him stick around a little bit longer, right? To help make sure the thing that takes him away from us is the natural causes of existing, not himself. Hayden Hurst talked to Dak Prescott, who lost his brother to suicide during quarantine. That process, that video clip of his mic'd up session where he was like, "Yo, man, like I'd love to work with you," and Dak Prescott says like, "Yo, man, I'd love to collab with you on this whole thing," and it caused people to wonder like, what is Hayden Hurst even talking about, right? He said he has a foundation. The Hayden Hurst Foundation has had multiple articles written about it, been blown up on the Atlanta Falcons Twitter account, has been written about by, I believe, Dan Wetzel, and people are paying attention to it. It's blowing up. Shout out to that simple video clip put out by the Atlanta Falcons. And really, the only reason that Hayden Hurst knew that Dak Prescott was a guy that he could reach out to is because Dak talked about it. He talked about the darkness that came over him and the fear, the depression, the hate for himself, the sadness of losing his brother that sent him spiraling into a depression. He talked about it for like a minute, like a couple of minutes. He gave you a glimpse into who he was as a human being. And Skip Bayless took that opportunity to talk about weakness. Everybody else took that opportunity to talk about, damn, that's impressive. We need more of that in sports. We need more of people talking about it in sports. And Dak Prescott talked to Hayden Hurst for 10 seconds. And now a foundation that is dedicated to helping people get the help that they need so that they can be around a lot longer is getting the attention it deserves. And I love it. I fucking love it. I love it, man. I really do. Shout out to Hayden Hurst. Shout out to Dak Prescott, because this wouldn't have happened if he hadn't said anything. If he didn't talk about it, we wouldn't be talking about it. Amazing how that works.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It happened right in front of us. But yeah, about a week ago, not a lot of people knew about the Hayden Hurst Foundation. This week they do. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Now we're moving on to We Talking Money, or Are We Talking Money, Ashton? And I know I mentioned, for those that didn't listen on Tuesday, I made a little bit of money on our friends over at Thrive Fantasy. If you look down here, if you're on twitch.tv/BrokeBoysSports, we got one of our only partner right now, Thrive Fantasy. Go on, download it on the Google or the Apple Store. Download it. When you put the code BrokeBoy in and put $20 down, you get $20 back. They're also, I believe, doing an even bigger promo where if you put $50 down, you get $50 back. So go ahead, get some free money from them. Get in on the action this weekend. Tonight's Thursday night game, and then also on Sunday in the Monday night games. There's a lot of action. Hashtag prop up, because it's not just a normal DFS site. It's all about prop bets on Thrive Fantasy. Ashton, your boy made $4 this past week, finished it in the money. Thank
American
you.
money.
Yeah, thank you to Russell Wilson, to Chris Carson, and Julian Edelman for all hitting their overs. You made a little bit of money in my back pocket. But Ashton, we talking money or we talking money? Tyrod Taylor is this week's.
Ooh, baby. Oh man. So, let's see. Where we start with this? By the way, I take this moment to gloat a little bit. I talked about this on Tuesday. I got caught up in a situation on Twitter. A little bit of a situation, right? It was big to me. It didn't mean anything to Mike Renner. I talked about how the disrespect for Tyrod Taylor is coming from like the top rope, people coming at him like he Nathan Peterman. And my only argument is that Tyrod Taylor is an average quarterback. There's a lot of people that didn't agree with that. And I was like, you don't understand how good average is in the NFL then. So, Tyrod Taylor, former quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, former quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and apparently former quarterback for the LA Chargers now, had a situation on game day. We found out that he had, they put him on the injury report, had to take him to the hospital. The injury was listed as chest. A lot of us thought this was like a made up injury to take him out of the game so that they can put in the young upstart rookie, Justin Herbert, Justin Airbear.
Yeah, Bear Herbert. Yeah, there we go.
Justin Airbear out there, right? And come to find out, one of the team doctors punctured the lung of Tyrod Taylor while trying to administer a pain. It was a painkiller, which I'm assuming is Toradol. I'm assuming was Toradol for his cracked ribs, which, by the way, means that Tyrod Taylor won week 1 of the NFL season with broken ribs. Yep. So for all those people, I was like, I don't know a shitty quarterback who can win an NFL football game with broken ribs, but whatever. Maybe I'm wrong still. Tyrod Taylor goes to the hospital, and this comes out, and everybody's cracking all the jokes in the face of the planet. It's hilarious. And the primary joke, Martin, you know what this is? They did that shit on purpose so they can get Justin Herbert in the game, which, by the way, is the most diabolical thing I could ever imagine, intentionally harming a professional athlete so that you could potentially find out if Justin Herbert is good.
It was my first thought. I literally
Martin. Oh, Martin, you heard me say that. At no point did I say or think, wow, they would never do that. Yeah. There's no point where I would put that past an NFL team. We just, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming off a year where Trent Williams had to come out and talk about how the doctors either misdiagnosed or intentionally misled him to believe that the growth on his head was nothing to worry about. And it turned out it was a rare form of cancer. We're coming off another situation. Makwa, I believe is how you say his name, offensive lineman for the Jets, was intentionally misled about the condition of his shoulder by the Jets medical officials, and he had to go get a third opinion from another doctor outside of the Jets network, and he said, "Wow, man, you are done for the season. Your shoulder is completely shredded." Yep. I'm just putting it out there, man. And by the way, this is the problem when you make this is the slippery slope of when you tell one lie, right? You tell one lie and it opens the possibility that all the other ones are real too, right? When you lie to somebody or intentionally mislead them or possibly just bad at your job, I don't know which is worse, Martin. Intentionally lying to somebody when you know what's something wrong to them, or just being that bad at your job you can't see that somebody has cancer on their head, right?
Yeah.
Those two things are possible. It opens up the door to being like, well, damn, why don't they just do that to somebody on purpose and say that it happened because football? Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, your ACL's torn, bro, and it can be perfectly fine, and you'd be like, because football, bro. I don't know what to tell you. So anyway, and let's be honest, teams have taken advantage of injuries that players have been able to obtain because of football, aka Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. Anyway, who would have thought we'd be talking about Alex Smith's concussion to bring up Colin Kaepernick on this podcast, considering what he said about the Breonna Taylor situation? We talking money or we talking money? The NFLPA has told Tyrod Taylor to sit out indefinitely. They're like, oh no, we need to make sure that we get a real thorough look at this punctured lung and these cracked ribs so that we can make sure when this lawsuit come in, we getting all the money, or every dime of it. And there's somebody that wrote on Twitter, he's like, if it was me in that situation, they'd be changing the name of the team to the Tyrod Taylor Chargers. God damn it. Anyway, Tyrod Taylor in a horrible situation had his lung punctured by a team doctor trying to administer what I can only imagine is a Toradol shot to his broken ribs so that he could not feel them and go out there and play to start an NFL football game.
Yeah, it's wild. The conspiracy theorist in me says it was definitely done on purpose, but this one that was one of the weirdest so far one of the weirdest stories of the NFL season, because there was no
And Martin,
signs that at all that Tyrod was hurt. Like, if he had cracked ribs the Sunday before, why wasn't it not reported by the team? That's another thing that the
or
NFL's
more
got to
than
look
likely
at.
he got it in the course of the game, right? Like we know that much. Like he more than likely got it through the course of the game.
And they said it was like at one point, didn't they say it was during practice? So so it wasn't during practice. It was while
It was during practice, not in the game, or
yeah.
whatever. Who knows? I
No,
mean,
I'm
we've
talking about
already
on
been
Sunday
told.
during practice. They said he got
We've
hurt
already.
during
Oh,
warm-ups.
okay.
Remember they were saying
Yeah.
he hurt his chest during warm-ups, and now it's he actually, the doctor broke his wrist or punctured his lung by trying to give a pain injection for cracked ribs. It's fucking wild. This story's not done yet. And
Not even close.
The NFLPA is helping out Tyrod Taylor, and if and most likely when he wins that case, he is going to be getting a couple of pennies put in his pocket. We move on now to media suggestions, Ashton. You've got 3 this week that you want to talk about. I'm going to add one really quickly. We already mentioned it, All the Smoke. This one's got Allen Iverson in it. I was going to mention it even before uh, what he said went viral about a guy in sports that made fun of his tattoos. Um, Go and watch it. It's got Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson. They do a great job of just keeping it. They do a great job of keeping it real. Like, that's one of the things I enjoy about doing this podcast with you. I think we do a good job of keeping things real, keeping things in perspective, and also having a good time while we're doing it. And man, did they all 3 of them were clowning, and it's just good show, good podcast to listen to. So All the Smoke, it's got AI on it. If you're an AI fan like myself, the answer, I mean, man, I remember when I first moved to America and I was first getting into sports and seeing his. I mean, some people call it an attitude. I just call it that factor that he had. I mean, it's Russell Westbrook's got it. Kobe had it. He's one of my favorite athletes that I've come to enjoy watching play sports, and not just play sports, but off the court as well. I mean, even in the podcast, All Smoke, he addresses the practice. He literally addresses like what went into the practice. We talking practice, like for those that aren't going to listen, I'll break it down for you. He basically, there was like three different things going on in his life that like had pissed him off to that point, and he just took it out on the practice question. His friend had just been killed, and they hadn't arrested a killer yet. His kids were at home and asking his dad, like, "Are you really getting traded? Because my friends at school are saying you're not going to be here anymore." And so he, right before that press conference, had just left a meeting with the GM and coach, um, and they basically had promised him that he was going nowhere. And so he was actually in a good mood going to the press conference, and then he gets asked about practice and getting knocked out in the first round of the playoffs 1 year after going to the finals, and he said he just lost it. And like, the best part of it is like, everybody thinks it's funny, everybody thinks it's this great quote except for me. I was like, oh man, AI just keeps it real. Go check out All the Smoke.
Yeah, All the Smoke is definitely a good choice when you have it. I'm still pretty skeptical of Steven Jackson, but we'll talk about that some other time. I got 3. I'll make it quick. It's Okay to Break Down is a Players Tribune article written by Kayla McBride. She talked about how basketball has always been the one constant in her life. As a matter of fact, basketball has been the thing that has drowned out the dark thoughts in her mind. She struggled mightily with either depression or a series of other mental health issues. She's going to therapy finally. She talked about how her parents would consistently get in arguments all the time. They grew up in a time period where interracial dating was more of a hot, more intensely scrutinized than it is now, and that factored into her existence because she's half black and half white. So, Kayla talked about how basketball was her only sanctuary, and in quarantine, she could not play anymore. And because she couldn't play, she had to now sit there, like a lot of us did, and listen. And she couldn't get the thoughts to stop racing through her mind. She couldn't get the moment of silence and the moment of peace in quarantine. And she addressed it because she was like, basketball has been a crutch for me to not address my issues, my problems. And I was like, damn, man, like this is gonna hit hard for a lot of people because I know some people were struggling big time when it came to everything that was going on during quarantine. So shout out to Kayla for writing that story and being honest about it. Listen to Sports with Katie Nolan. She breaks down and talks about everything that's going on in her life because that dude, that man, said about her is not something new. It's something that she had already thought about herself as a person, and she addressed, like, he didn't even say that I wasn't good. He said that I didn't belong.
Yep.
That was a huge thing, and she's not taking it to heart. She also mentioned about how she was so caught up in her Twitter mentions she didn't notice the flood of calls and text messages of people coming in to support her, the people who came off the top rope to fucking dunk on him, that came out of the woodwork, that came out to support her, the people that intentionally didn't blow up her Twitter mentions with like loving messages and support, the people who reached out to her, some people she didn't even know, some people she didn't even know knew her and reached out and were very kind to her and just told her what they thought about her. And they were like, dude, you not only belong, you are one of the best. You are dominating. You are paving a way for a whole new generation of sportscaster. Not everybody needs an SVP. We don't need more Jason Whitlocks. We don't need more Jason Whitlocks in our life. We need more Katie Nolans. And she just couldn't. She was overwhelmed with the sadness. She was overwhelmed with the happiness, and it was wild. They also talked about sports in there. But yeah, check that out. Other podcasts to check out this week: Sports Media Podcast with Richard Deitch. If I would suggest, make sure you've had your coffee. Richard is very dry. They talk about numbers and minutia. They are literally a podcast that is centered around minutia. That's what they do. Richard Deitch talked about how the flood of sports on TV is what's dissipating and watering down ratings for sports that were already getting low ratings to begin with. They address like the NHL may have its worst rated Stanley Cup ever
Go
on
Stars.
its hands. They might have their worst rated Stanley Cup ever on their hands because they're now directly competing with the NBA and the NFL and Major League Baseball, their absolute worst nightmare. Yeah. Right?
There's a reason they pick what part of the year they do everything in.
Yes.
Yes. And this is not the normal time to be doing what they are doing. And yeah. And the top, you mentioned on Tuesday, the top 10 shows right now on TV are fucking all NFL games.
Just annihilating, right? Like just a giant hammer, just smash, like whack-a-mole, just whacking down everything that could be successful. Because the NHL is one of the sports that's handled the pandemic pretty well, and it doesn't look like they're going to get any kind of like TV revenue reward for handling the pandemic well, which is tough. But nonetheless, the NFL they discussed the NFL ratings and how they're varying. They also discuss how like the NFL ratings are unaffected by you imaginary people out there in the world who are saying, I don't watch the NFL because I'm protesting. So yeah, that's the only one I got. That's the last one. That's what I got for sports media. For media suggestions, I'll take it from the top one more time. Just read through them. Sports by Katie Nolan. It's Okay to Break Down, which is on the Players Tribune by Kayla McBride. The Sports Media Podcast by Richard Deitch about NFL ratings. He also talks to two journalists, one who wrote about women in white supremacy, which is strange, and then the other one that wrote about college sports and the dynamic of players who realize their athletic career is ending in college and the dynamic that goes along with that, which, hey, lucky those guys. My athletic career ended in high school.
Yes, same here. All right, Ashton, we move on to what's going on. This is where we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. We're going to be making some NFL picks, and also we got UFC 253 on the cards. Israel Adesanya, I just completely fucking butchered that one.
Israel Adesanya.
I just called him the last style bender because it's a lot easier to say. He's going up against, oh my God, Paulo Costa. I don't know why. I completely blanked on his name there. But let's start with the NBA playoffs. We still got 4 teams alive.
3 Trulies in, baby. 3 Trulies in, by the way, in case anybody's counting.
We got the NBA playoffs here. 4 teams still alive. Last couple of weeks, on Thursday, Ashton been pouring one out for the homies, but all the homies are still alive right now. Is the Nuggets? They got one back. So this, for those of you that have been following sports for a while, and this is an old adage: it ain't a series until both teams win. Lakers, Nuggets.
Say the next part. Say the next part. It's not a series until one team wins on the road.
Oh yeah, I mean, that one's out the
Sorry.
door right now, dude. We're in the bubble. But it's not a series until both teams get a dub, and of course, yes, like Ashton said, in a normal world, quote unquote normal world, it's also not a series until the away team wins on the road. 3-1, I believe, as we record this on September 24th, Thursday. The Lakers and Nuggets, they're tipping off late tonight. So if you're out there on the East Coast, you're going to be staying up a little bit. This one's at
Yeah, RIP to the East Coast, bro. It's been rough for you guys.
yeah.
It's
You got to
been
be dedicated. You got to be
I
dedicated
think
sports
I
fan.
think the Celtics Heat game didn't start until 7:30.
Yeah, that was
so.
I mean, yeah, so late game 4, the Nuggets took game 3, 114 to 106. So it's a 2-1 series right now as they enter the 4th game. Tonight at 8 o'clock. For those looking for the TV, it's on TNT tonight. Ashton, we're going into game 4, 2-1. How do you see this series right now? And I think last week we both said we were hoping there was the Nuggets versus Heat for specific reasons. I think the Nuggets
Martin.
showed.
All right, so you guys saw that Martin tried to wrangle me into his chaos theory there. I said I'll take Heat Lakers because it's superstar led team versus non-superstar led team, which is the epitome of what we all want to be the case. Also, Bam Adebayo versus Anthony Davis. So
be nice to see,
especially since Anthony Davis got to take an entire series off when he played against PJ Tucker at center, and many would argue he actually didn't. PJ Tucker was out there banging. Like, whether y'all want to believe it or not, PJ Tucker was out there.
He was trying his best.
He was ready to swing on Anthony Davis if it came to it, but it never did. Anyway, Jokic and Anthony Davis has been an interesting matchup to watch. But once again, we're starting to see big plays from Jamal Murray, man.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to see big plays from Jamal Murray, top to bottom. And maybe I'm wilding. I swear to God, these Lakers that they got on the court with LeBron James, I've never seen a team fade more in the playoffs. Like, they're getting less and less relevant as the playoffs go on somehow, man. And maybe I'm the wild one for saying that, but it seems like more and more of this whole situation is heavily dependent upon LeBron James to just go out there and do his thing. And I get it, man. He's got to do his thing because, he's LeBron James. He's the reason that they're all here. But it makes me wonder, like, when it's all said and done, where these guys are going to rank in terms of, like, the quality of team that LeBron James has ever played with. Because to me, I saw them go against the Nuggets. The Nuggets went out there and they took it from the jump. They had to snatch it from the jump. It's good to see Rondo out there still doing the Rondo things, which is, of course, terrorizing everybody who comes in his way that has a basketball in front of him. He even knocked down a shot. That was kind of impressive because I'm telling you right now, Rondo starts knocking down shots. We got a big-ass problem, guys.
He's not a shooter.
Yeah. Not a shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but it was wild to just see it was really wild to see them just play great defense and still get fucking roasted. Like, they played high quality, high level defense and still got cooked versus the Lakers. So the Nuggets, man, the Lakers got cooked defensively by the great offense from the Nuggets, which will be interesting because of course, Martin, it's easy to do it for one game, but can you do it for 4?
Hey, the Nuggets have done it both series so far. What were they down? Was it 3-0 they were down in the first series? Or was it 3-1?
They've been on the ropes because, like, look at the situation. They had 2 30-point quarters last game, right? They scored in the second quarter, they scored 34. In the third quarter, they scored 30.
Yeah.
Lakers came back, dominated, 1+10 in the fourth, and it still wasn't enough. Like, that's how they were scorching hot. They were like surface of the sun, blazing hot for the entire game. And the Lakers still were kind of hanging in there a little bit. A little concerning. But I can't wait to see the adjustments from the Lakers because at some point they have to make a defensive adjustment versus Jamal Murray. They can't just be doing what they've been doing. And it's like, Rondo, do the Rondo thing,
Yeah. At what point does they just say, like, LeBron, all right, just stop guarding Paul Millsap. Let's just put you on Jamal and just see how it goes from there.
By the way, shout out to Paul Millsap. He turned his gym into he has like a training facility, and he's now making that available as a polling station for people to go cast their vote safely. Shout out to him for that. Paul Millsap, one of the real dudes, one of the real ones, man.
On the other side of the bracket, Ashton, the Eastern Conference last night, another close game between the Heat and the Celtics. Miami one game away from going back to the NBA Finals, I believe for the first time since, was it 2012, 2014? One of those, I believe it's one of those 2 years I read. But, man, and we got a new star. Is it safe to call Tyler Hero a star after that, was it 37 points?
Everything is so pumped up in the fucking everything is so pumped up in the bubble, man. It's and in the playoffs in particular, I wouldn't call him a star. That's just me though. I will say for him to go out there and dominate that game, bro, as a rookie in the NBA versus the Celtics of all teams, like a team that is guard heavy and guard talented, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, of course, and then Kemba Walker out there, bro. Like it's hard not to give the dude his credit. It's hard because we saw him do it versus in the round versus the Bucks. Like he was just money. Like he had a leaner 3-pointer that he knocked down to make one of the games. The one game that Chris Middleton in the Heat forced into overtime, he hit a leaner 3-pointer to force overtime out of a inbounds play. You know that's not normal shit. You got to be really impressed once again with just like the assembly of this team. But Tyler Hero, shout out to him on that one, man. The dude dominated. He's going to dominate this week in terms of conversation because they're one win away from eliminating the Celtics, a team that is immensely talented from top to bottom. And if they lose this series, they're down 3-1 right now. Martin, I don't know like where you go in terms of improving the roster for them, right? Yeah. Like unless it's like, hey, we need a better big man. Like I don't get where you go when you have Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all in your starting, like all coming into the game for you, starting 5, and it's just hard to believe like that anything else can be done to make that roster better. Who knows, man? Maybe they run it back. Doubt they do.
Yeah, we got Frosty in the chat saying he's got the perfect last name. He's a hero. What do you expect? We also got a Captain. Somebody else covered in the chat here.
It's
Celtics
Morocco.
are done. Can't win games when they turn the ball over as much as they have, and that was going to be my next point. Was it 18 total turnovers in last night's game, and then 8 or 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter alone? Yeah, that's not going to win you a game.
They had one quarter where they gave up like double-digit points worth of turnovers. So
yeah, it was weird. And then at halftime, Jason Tatum he had assists and he had rebounds. He had 0 points. Do you know, like, if he had hit 2 or 3 of the shots that he took in the first half, they would have won.
He had a playoff P level game out there, man. That's what it really was.
that it's so unfortunate that that's like the comparison now, that like if you have a bad game, you're compared to playoff P. But
the man did it to himself.
He really did. But those turnovers were so. I'm bringing it up right now. 19 turnovers from Boston to 8 turnovers total for Miami, and I'm not gonna say that's all coaching, but man, is Eric Spoelstra like? Can we please get him in Houston? Can we somehow just get back up the trucks and get him to Houston? Because we need a coach in Houston that can turn anybody into a decent team.
All right, so we're not gonna disrespect the Miami Heat because there's a lot of immensely talented players on that team. Just because most people don't know their name doesn't mean they're not amazingly talented. But Martin, I was gonna say, man, you look at that series and you talk about like how close it was, and Jason Tatum like was asleep in the first half or whatever it was.
I don't know what it was, man.
What happens when he's not? Like that, it comes off like, oh wow, it's one of those situations of like that's the aberration. Like what we talked about on Tuesday, where the 4 fumbles from the Cowboys in the first half.
Yeah.
Like what happens in the second half? Like what happens the next game when it's just like straight up, like Jason Tatum's back to doing whatever he's been doing, because really he's been tearing it up the entire playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So him having an off game is not like crazy or anything like that. It makes sense because he's an elite level player who takes a lot of heat in terms of like defensive pressure and defensive awareness. But I feel like he's the kind of guy who, you know, when he like that's not his norm. Meaning that if they just played their normal game, this is not the result that we're looking at. And it could be, you know, once again, comes down to consistency. That's what it really depends upon. Consistency is the key to greatness, key to winning, key to get into the NBA Finals, key to winning an NBA championship. You know what, man? I'm feeling like they're going to get at least one more game.
Oh yeah.
And I get it. They had the whole situation where they blew up in the locker room or whatever, but I'm not all out on them just yet.
I hope this one goes to 7 games just because
That would be lit because it would
it's
be
the
lit.
better. It's without saying it's the better of the 2 series. Like, come on. I mean, the Nuggets are good, but I don't know. They're not really on the Lakers level for me personally. But yeah, I think
The
this one
scores
goes 7
disagree.
games.
All right, so we move on to NFL Week 3 schedule. If you got picks as we're going through this, put them in the chat, man. If you got any opinions, we'll get to that point. Frosty Nugs,
he's making his opinion known right now in the chat.
No, I thought Frosty said something about one of the series. He wrote like 3-1 in there. I don't know what the deal.
Oh yeah, he was talking about the Heat Celtics game.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So we'll start from the top. We're doing it in chronological order. So we're doing the noon games. We're doing Thursday Night Football, which is tonight. It's Florida off, baby. It's gonna get weird. I would hope it gets weird. It's a Florida off on a Thursday. That's like a recipe for somebody. By the way, R.I.P. to the Hawk. James Laurinaitis' dad, legendary WWE wrestler, passed away. R.I.P. to a real one. If you ever want to get a good glimpse into him, he has an episode on Dark Side of the Ring about wrestling. It's like some of the greatest wrestling stories in all of wrestling, and him and his tag team partner were one of the greatest duos in the game ever. So check that out. 2020 Week 3 NFL schedule. Thursday night, Miami Dolphins versus the Jacksonville Jaguars at 7:20 p.m. on NFL Network. If you don't have NFL Network, steal it on the internet. Anyway, Miami Dolphins, Jacksonville, man. I'm buying Jacksonville on this one. Jacksonville's played way above the level that we all thought that they were capable of. I'm actually really excited to get a glimpse of like watching them play football. The Miami Dolphins, though, coming off a pretty good game versus the Bills.
They've had 2, I would say, decent defensive performances against the Patriots and the Bills. Yeah, they gave up yards and maybe not decent, but I don't know. Can I really pick the like? Here's the thing: both teams are technically, in everybody, or at least my eyes, tanking for next season.
Once again, y'all keep saying that word. I don't think Gardner Minshew got the memo.
Yeah.
I don't think he got the like, hey, bro, we're taking away all the talent, because if we give you like actual talented football players in the NFL, actual NFL level talent, you win us too many games. I think he's won you all. I think he's already won you too many games because he won you one. And I think he's going to get the second one tonight, and that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like I said it on Tuesday's episode, if Miami keeps losing and the Texans keep losing, they'll have 2 top 10 picks. So give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. I can't give you a score, but just give me the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I'll take the Jags on this one, man. I believe in Gardner Minshew. He does win the quarterback battle, but Fitzmagic is.
You can't count Fitzmagic out.
He's got the wand waving around the top hat. I'm waiting to see what's going to come out, because it could be a brick and it could be like an actual rabbit. So we'll find out. He's got the wand waving over the top hat, waiting to see what comes out.
I mean, technically, I should be going with the man with the beard, since I'm a team beard myself. But just give me I gotta. If Ashton and I are going to end the season, if I'm going to beat Ashton in the pick by the end of the season, I have to make some smart decisions in my picks. And I think the smart decision is going to Jacksonville Jaguars here.
Yeah, he's got a very delicate 1-pick lead right now. So Sunday, the Texans take on the Steelers. What you got, Martin?
Steelers by 100.
You guys are funny. You guys are funny.
No, not by 100. The Houston has come out flat both games. This is there's people saying that the season starts now, even though it's week 3. The Steelers, on the other hand, I think looked past Denver to Houston. Give me the Steelers.
You can keep saying that phrase over and over again all you want. They're still NFL players and they got paid to play, and there's no looking past NFL teams. Me on the other, like, I look at this matchup. High quality level defense that predicates itself on high level pressure, which means naturally they're gonna get to Deshaun Watson. Is there a guy like Deshaun Watson under pressure? Not great numbers, still better than most of the people in the league, right? Ben Roethlisberger, for what we understand right now, is still he's still rotating that arm a little bit. He's still warming up just a little bit, right? If they stop James Conner, I think they win this.
Oof. All right.
If they stop James Conner, I think they win this. Also, the other thing I'm interested to see, do they have a turnover this game? right? Like
Yeah.
that's my biggest thing. I'm like, is there a turnover at some point during this game? Because you remember a freak turnover of a wide receiver fumble, which is fucking impossible in the NFL in a lot of cases. But nonetheless, it turned into a touchdown that put, subsequent nail in the coffin for the Houston Texans. I'm interested to see how this all shakes out. I think the Texans go out there. If there's one part of their defense that works really well, is their ability to stop the run. I'll take that and use that as a reason for their success. And I'll take the Texans on this one.
I disagree on that one, but the Steelers have
What-
Deontay
so-
Johnson.
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
They're. Did you mean their passing game isn't that bad? Because I mean the two games against the Ravens and the Chiefs, they've gotten torched on the ground. But the Steelers, they have Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Claypool or whatever his name is. The Texans are
Chase
going
Claypool. Yeah.
Chase Claypool. They got 3 wide receivers to take care of. They've also got James Conner to look after, and I have yet to be impressed by the Texans' defense so far. So maybe it'll be a shootout. I don't know, but the Steelers have the better defense in my eyes. They have the better offense.
This will also be a good test of if the Texans defense can really defend the deep ball, like I've been saying.
Yeah.
Vast majority
Because
of
the
this
Steelers love going deep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a lot of their pass offense comes from going like way further down the field than most teams. I'm expecting, J.J. Watt's got 2 sacks against Lamar Jackson. He's a wily one.
They've got all 3 Watt brothers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Derek Watt's their fullback, right?
Yeah, Derek Watt and then T.J. Watt are on the Steelers, and then I think I read on Twitter somewhere this is the first time ever, like dating all the way back to early like Pee-wee, middle school, high school, because they're not that far apart in age. So this is the first time that they've ever all 3 been in the same game. So that'll be
Derek's
interesting.
The older brother.
Yep. So
Derek's the older brother, and I think he's the smallest out of all 3 of them. So that's got to be fun.
Yeah.
They got bigger as they came out. No, TJ is smaller than JJ, right?
I think so.
TJ is the second tallest, and he's the middle child, and JJ's the big one. JJ's the big one.
Yeah. Let's get on to the next game.
Wow. Whew. Eagles versus Bengals. Martin. I smell it. I smell the upset. I smell also Eagles fans throwing horse shit.
If there was fans in the game.
Did you see how they actually worked in the boos in the stadium?
No, I didn't.
They actually had the virtual fans boo the Eagles off the field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so in the most Philadelphia thing of all time, they found a way. Life finds a way. The entire city of Philadelphia booed in unison, and they heard it in the stadium. Anyway, I'll take the Bengals on this one, man. I'm not gonna lie. They're not good. The Eagles are a team that is in flux right now, so I'm banking on this game to actually be close.
Mm-hmm.
And a clutch situation for Joe Exotic, baby. This could be it. This could be the win. This could be the moment that he captures the hearts and the souls and the minds and the imaginations of all of Cincinnati.
Yeah, the Eagles have been struggling, Ashton. But I believed in the Bengals last week.
Injuries combined with lack of talent, because let's be honest, the Browns are the Browns are objectively more talented than the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Player for player, they are more talented than the Eagles.
So at the start of the season, I would have smashed the Eagles wholeheartedly in this one, but through 2 weeks, they have just looked. They don't have a wide receiver threat. I mean, they got 2 tight ends that Carson Wentz likes to throw to.
We're banking on Jalen Reagor to emerge a little bit here, right? He's the speed guy. Deshaun Jackson, who
I don't think. I think Reagor might be out this week. We'd have to check on that one.
By the way, you can say that about half the league. Did you see the Falcons injury report?
No.
I think it's 14 dudes on there.
Wow. I'm gonna lean the same way as Ashton until we know what the Bengals are, right? They're not that good, but apparently the Eagles aren't very good either. So until the Eagles show me anything, I think I might pick against them every week this season. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals in this one.
The Cincinnati Bengals. The 49ers take on the Giants. They're going back to MetLife Stadium in apparently the stickiest turf known to man on the face of the planet. The 49ers take on the Giants. Nick Mullins will be the starting quarterback as far as we know for the San Francisco Giants. Right now, Raheem Mostert is doubtful to play. But you know how injury reports work, guys. You work your way up the injury report. So you start off at the lowest rating possible, and then you work your way up. It doesn't go down. You just stay at the level that they think you're supposed to be at. Also, Nick Bosa out for the season. Towards ACL.
Yep.
Fun.
I'm looking at an article right now.
Also
5
Simon
hours
Thomas.
ago, ESPN reports the turf at MetLife Stadium has been inspected and found to meet all standards days after the 49ers complained against the Jets and having to return week 3. Not much to say about this one. The Giants without Saquon, without Sterling Shepard, I believe. This one, the only reason it's going to be close is apparently the 49ers may be putting a lot of their players on rep watch just so that they don't get hurt. When you're doing
Because
that,
remember, Debo Samuels is out, by the way.
when you're doing that in a regular season game and not a preseason game, that means the other team is not very good. The Giants.
This is preseason, baby. If you haven't picked up on this is the preseason.
The Giants have showed absolutely nothing on either side of the ball, so give me the 49ers.
Yeah, I'll take the 49ers just off pure talent, man. And if the Giants pull this one out, I would not be surprised by any stretch of the imagination, because Daniel Jones is, for as wild as he is, you know what wild ends up, right? Like, wild swings both ways.
Yeah.
You can be bad wild and you can be good wild. And, you know, the boy's been able to string together a couple of good plays here and there. He got together that 19-play drive that one time on Monday Night Football, and then, of course, ended it by throwing it to floating a ball to a defensive end, and Cam Hayward's easiest interception in the history of his entire career. Yep. But I'll take the 49ers off talent, man. Yeah. Off talent alone. So, yeah, move on. The Raiders of Las Vegas take on the New England Patriots, and I feel like this one's a layup, maybe. Mm-hmm. This one looks pretty simple. I'm going with the Patriots, bro.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I don't. All right, Martin. Go ahead. They played the Eagles, and they beat the Eagles, and they beat the Raiders. I'm sorry, they beat the Eagles, and they beat the Saints.
I was impressed with what I saw on Monday Night Football with the Raiders. The Patriots, obviously.
Some creativity for sure.
You talk about a layup basketball player reference. Darren Waller could have probably played in the NBA if he wanted to. He's going up. The Raiders going up against Cam Newton in that offense. I almost want to take the Raiders. I've almost been more impressed through 2 games with the Raiders than the Patriots. But the Patriots played the Seahawks close, lost on the 1-yard line. The Raiders haven't had a challenge yet. Give me the Patriots. I think Bill Belichick comes up with a way to stop Darren Waller this week, even though I've got him in a couple of fantasy leagues. Cam Newton is looking pretty good on the offensive side of the ball. That offense, is it safe to say the New England's offense is clicking through 2 weeks? Because I don't think many people gave them too much credit.
Yeah, based off of what we understand about this season, right? The Dolphins and the Seahawks are on 2 opposite ends of the competitive spectrum, and they played worse versus the Dolphins because of the divisional game, naturally, but also, like, played the best game that we've probably seen out of the Seahawks versus the Seahawks. So, played a high-level game versus a high-level team. Hopefully, they're not one of those teams that plays down the competition. That's, like, the worst thing that you can possibly be in sports. Yep. Anyway, moving on. Tennessee Titans taking on... Who are these guys? The Minnesota Vikings are an NFL team?
No, let's change their name to the Minnesota Vikings. Put an F instead of a V because they are frauds right now. They are led by Kirk Cousins. Okay. Kirk Cousins at quarterback. The defense, who
I tried to tell y'all.
Many people were talking up the Vikings before the season and having possibly the best defense and all this and that, and it has just been an absolute stinker so far. They are playing the Titans, who are 2-0. I don't like the Titans. Don't like anything about them, but give me the Titans because Minnesota and the Texans are going to go into Week 4, both 0-3. Give me the Titans.
So the Tennessee Titans are a team that controls the ball really well, and I have a little bit of faith in Ryan Tannehill's ability to get the ball out there. Also, dual threat quarterback versus single threat quarterback.
Yep.
Single threat in Kirk Cousins. So I'll take the Tennessee Titans just off the strength of what we've seen out of their offense, and it honestly isn't that much. They've played 3 of the worst teams in the NFL that we've seen so far. As a matter of fact, their level of competitiveness has dropped
Hmm.
as the season has gone on because the Broncos are a good team. We saw that. As far as we know, the Broncos play good football when Drew Lock is at the quarterback position, and then they played the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team we don't think is all that good right now, and now they're playing a team that we know is not good.
Yep.
We're playing. They're playing a team we know is not good in the Minnesota Vikings, despite the fact that they clearly don't have faith in Kirk Cousins because they refuse to let him throw the ball down the field. Also, apparently there's a contingent of people who thought Adam Thielen was going to replace Stephon Diggs. And all I can say is, wow.
Yeah. Free Justin
I mean,
Jefferson.
oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know how to tell you how stupid that sounds to me, like as a human being, but that sounds like some shit Vikings fans would say, you know? Anyway, moving on that one, we both picked the Titans. The Washington football team, led by Dwayne Haskins, is taking on the Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and some dude named Baker.
Yep.
So talent, like Martin, talent level, Browns have the talent advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback advantage, Cleveland Browns, right?
Yep. Close, but yeah.
Defensive advantage.
I'm going Washington. I think Washington's got a better defense than Cleveland, personally.
I think Washington gets pressure. That doesn't equate to good defense.
Chase Young on one side.
By the way, Chase Young versus Baker Mayfield.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember that one time, Baker in Oklahoma went to the horseshoe and beat them, and then Baker took a flag and put it in the Buckeye logo.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll come up ever again. Nobody's ever gonna.
Yeah, they're not
going
to show that about 10 different times. But Chase Young, Montez Sweat, John Bostic, I think, and people forget Landon Collins is over there in Washington right now.
Also, wow, Martin, you name Montez Sweat and Chase Young, who pale in comparison to the skill level of Ryan Kerrigan. Like Ryan Kerrigan is the best defensive lineman on that team, hands down. Don't know any of the other guys. I know Janoris Jenkins is there. He's good.
Yeah, he's all right.
But yeah, so Martin's given the edge on defense to the Browns.
No, to Washington. I'm saying
to Washington.
Yeah.
So everything else you're giving to the Browns?
I think. Yeah, the Browns have two running backs that are better than any running back on Washington. I'm going with Washington. I'm picking the football team.
I feel dirty saying this, but I'll take the Browns.
All right.
I feel.
The Browns. Yeah, they beat the Bengals, but it was 35-30 or something like that. Like, you got to show me more against what we think are the bad teams.
Right. Are we gonna pretend they didn't do the thing where like they come back at the end and like it makes the score look reasonable? Okay.
I don't know. I just from what I've seen I'm just not impressed with the Cleveland Browns. Washington, yeah, they beat the Eagles, which apparently aren't that good, but they still came back from 17 points down. They didn't do too bad against my NFC Super Bowl selection, Arizona Cardinals. So give me Washington.
You do you. I got the Browns. This is a good game. This is an interesting game coming up here. This one should tell us a lot. There's certain games that give you information that you need to intake as a football fan for later on in the season, because both of these teams could be in the playoffs when it's all said and done, Martin. The Rams are taking on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, New York. Good luck with that. I'm sure it's going to be cold as fuck out there. At this point, yeah, it should be, right? It should be getting colder, I'm assuming. The Rams at Buffalo. What do you got, Martin?
This one, I just completely lost what? Oh, there it is. So Josh Allen is apparently the second best quarterback stats-wise right now in the NFL, which is just fucking wild. Going up against Jared Goff, who he's a game manager. I think we can both say that. He's not exciting. He just manages the game. Both teams have good defenses. Both have decent wide receiving cores. The running game, question mark on the Rams side right now on who like the number one running back is for them. The Bills, they don't have a two-headed monster. They just have two running backs right now that both get the ball in like a 60-40 split. I think I'm going to go with the Rams. Just based on if they have Aaron Donald, and he's going to be the best player on the field. So give me Aaron Donald. But I don't really feel comfortable about that because Buffalo, like you said, could be a playoff team this year. They could even win the AFC East. But yeah, give me the Rams.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills, my biggest thing about them, I'm skeptical of their run game. Like we mentioned before, it really hasn't been consistent. And combine that with the fact that they allowed the Dolphins back into a game last week makes me think that they got some big holes that they got to work on. I know the big thing to talk about is how Josh Allen just really isn't going deep down the field anymore. Like his average depth of target is significantly lower than it was last year, and that could be a bad thing, could be a good thing, especially if it reduces the number of turnovers.
Yeah.
But you have to assume there's one thing that's going to happen because Jalen Ramsey is Houdini, right? Like he's going to make Stephon Diggs disappear. Tre'Davious White is making who disappear? Robert Woods, right?
Yeah.
I think the Rams can exist without Robert Woods. I don't think the Bills can succeed offensively without Stephon Diggs. Banking on that. By the way, two of the best, like number 1 and number 2 corner in the NFL. So that should be a good matchup against like high quality wide receivers. Like Robert Woods is coming off a 1,000-yard season, and Stephon Diggs is like a fucking beast. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of Stephon Diggs. I'm looking at the weather real quick, Ashton. It'll be 80 degrees in Buffalo on Sunday.
Oh, okay. So not cold at all.
Decent football playing weather though.
Houston football playing weather because, if you listen to certain people up north, 54 degrees is the move, but whatever. Moving on, I'll take the Rams on this one. And Martin, you taking the Bills?
No, I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah, we're both on the Rams on this one. The Bears take on the Falcons.
Oh, this one is...
And God damn it, Martin, the undefeated Chicago Bears coming down to A-Town. That's exactly what we expected to talk about here in week 3 of the NFL season.
With Mitch Trubisky
looking mediocre as fuck, coming out here ready to kick Matt Ryan's ass. Matt Ryan, who was thrown for 4 times the amount of yards that Mitchell Trubisky has this season. He threw for 425 yards. There's back-to-back 400-yard throwing games for Matt Ryan, right?
Yep.
And Mitchell Trubisky, I think, is at 300-something yards
total
on the season.
Yep.
So the quarterback battle has been decided. Julio Jones taking. By the way, the Bears defense looking pretty stout there. Also, this is the first good team the Bears will play all season. I will say, I think the Falcons are just gonna beat them outright, man. I'll take the Falcons in this one, bro. I like their chances. I like the chances of the Bears not coming back on the Falcons.
Yeah, if the the thing with the Falcons is they're gonna score their points, right? No matter who they play, they're gonna put up points
right.
on offense.
We talked about this. We talked about how Matt Ryan operates in a vacuum.
Yeah,
but he always like, I don't care. I mean, if I'm going to throw for 303 touchdowns. If that's enough to win the game, I guess we'll find out because I'm not doing more than that. So yeah, I'm not doing more and I'm not doing less. So
it's so rare to pick an 0-2 team to beat a 2-0 team, but it's like you said, the Bears are 2-0.
There's only one fraud in this matchup, Martin. We're very aware of who the Falcons are. We know.
Yeah.
We know who both of these teams are, and only one of them is a fraud. So go ahead.
Yeah, I can't pick. Yeah, I can pick Mitch Trubisky when he's going up against the fucking Lions and what was it, the Vikings? Or who else did the?
It was the Vikings.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the Giants. It was the
Giants. Yeah, sorry, not the Giants. And haven't looked good in either of those games. They were DeAndre Swift touchdown away from losing to the Lions. The Giants, not the greatest on offense, but they lose Saquon Barkley, so who knows how he would have done if he would have been able to pan it out. This may be the only time I ever pick an 0-2 team to beat a 2-0 team, but give me the Falcons. They're going to score too many points.
And Martin, the other thing to take into this factor is like, you look at the position groups that they've had to shut down in the secondary the past couple of weeks. The Falcons have had to shut down, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup. Those guys are looking like they're going to be legit this season, right? Yeah. The first week they had to shut down Russell Wilson-led DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett out there as well, and they looked pretty good. Will Dissly didn't play in the first game of the season, but still looked pretty dope. Greg Olsen, he's all right, I guess. Sometimes he fell off a cliff big time, but the dude's still, out there doing his job.
Yep.
Anyway, I just look at the position group, the wide receiver position group, which if you're talking about Mitchell Trubisky, that's a huge factor into these things. I still believe in Deion Jones. I know some of you guys don't. They've been getting Takk McKinley and everybody else, depending upon how healthy these guys are going to be, because that's a big question. Julio Jones is still listed with a hamstring injury, and if you saw that game versus the Cowboys, it came into play big time. He had one catch where he fell down on the ground and it looked like it is the first time I had ever seen Julio Jones lumber to get up, and it was one of those things. So hopefully the injuries don't fuck them out of this game, but it's a very real possibility. The Panthers take on the Chargers in the next game here. The Chargers, Air Bear makes his second appearance under sketchy circumstances, but nonetheless taking on the Carolina Panthers in Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, Martin, this is a sketchy ass game. This is a sketchy game. I understand a lot of people don't have faith in the Panthers defense, but
Yep.
hold on. Martin said, like he's got the secret sauce here. What's the deal?
No, when this is just going to come down, you were actually on literally on the track of what I was going to say. Chargers have the better defense in this game. The Panthers without Christian McCaffrey means I think the Chargers are going to have the better offense in this game. So if they have both the better offense and better defense, I'm taking the Chargers. It might be a close game. The Chargers love having close games. As we remember in the Phillip Rivers era, they almost lost all of them. But Justin Herbert, really impressive. Teddy Bridgewater on the other side. It's like you mentioned on Tuesday, he sneakily had an okay game even in the loss. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle not having Christian McCaffrey on offense. But give me the Chargers on this one.
You know what? I'm gonna risk it
For the biscuit.
I have faith in. Oh wait, no, they don't have CMC. Never mind.
Yeah.
I almost did. Never mind. Yeah. Man. It's hard to pick the Chargers on this one because of how well the Panthers played last week versus the Bucks. Oh man.
It's one of those I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers win, like 17-14 or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised, but the
Chargers did come off a week where they went toe to toe with
the Chiefs. Yeah.
With the Chiefs, but it's different for them because the Chiefs are a divisional opponent.
Yeah. Carolina's heading to the West Coast, and it's in the new stadium, which they just played in last week, or the Chargers did. So,
you know what, man? I'll take the Chargers on this one, but I take it with a grain. I take it reluctantly. I take the Chargers reluctantly.
Yeah, same here. And I agree with you. What you were going to say about CMC. If CMC plays, I think I lean Panthers on that one.
Yeah, it's just hard to discount. It's hard to discount what I've seen in the first 2 weeks of the season because. Yeah. I know Teddy finished with 2 turnovers at the end of that game, but one of them was on a potential game-winning drive or game-tying drive. So it's hard to really discount it. But nonetheless, this will be interesting. Also, this will be Robbie Anderson's toughest. No, it'll be Robbie Anderson's toughest defensive matchup for wide receiver. He'll probably be matched up against Elder or something like that. But yeah. It's gonna be an interesting one. I'm gonna watch this game. I'm gonna make time to watch this game. The other 305 game, the Jets take on the Colts. This is seemingly a layup for the Colts.
How the fuck did the Jets not just get a noon kickoff game so that nobody gets to watch them?
Yeah, but them getting the fucked up part is in New York because the Giants are playing on noon and the Jets are playing at the 305 position. That's a slot to watch a game taken from the New York people in 2 different time slots because if they're both playing, they're on 2 different channels at the same time. But now they're on 2 different time slots. So yeah, good luck to all those dudes who are in New York. Sorry guys, you got to watch the Jets and the Giants, bro. But the Jets take on the Colts. I have faith that the Colts are going to get some kind of defensive pressure up front.
Yep.
And play mediocre offense as they have the entire season, and hopefully it'll be enough to beat the Jets.
Yeah, there's really nothing to be excited. Actually, I take that back. There's one thing for the New York Jets to be excited about, and it's their rookie left tackle or right tackle that they.
Mekhi Becton, the big ticket.
Yeah, did you see the video that they put out on his week 2 performance and some of the things he was doing? Like, if there's one bright spot, it is. They fucking nailed it with this draft pick. He is going to be a left tackle. Sam Darnold, I think the jury's still out on Sam Darnold. If he didn't have Adam Gase, he may be a little bit better. This one, if it's going to come down to coaching, I'm never going to pick Adam Gase, especially over the Colts head coach. His last name is Frank Reich. The Colts have the better offense. The Colts have the better defense. They have the best offensive line in football. They got Jonathan Taylor, who had a decent week last week in his first NFL start. Now he's going into A second one going up against the
Jonathan
Jets.
Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, this one, as long as Phillip Rivers doesn't turn the ball over 5 times, the Colts should have an easy game. But if it's Phillip Rivers in an afternoon slot, something
All right.
odd is going to
All right.
happen. Something
All
odd is going to happen.
right. We don't need to be slandering the good name of Phillip Rivers.
Give me the Colts.
Yeah, I'll take the Colts on this one just off the faith that they aren't complete ass, but I guess we'll find out. I will say the one thing that you should definitely be looking forward to is Mekhi Becton versus DeForest Buckner.
Yep.
2 huge motherfuckers. DeForest Buckner's like 6'7". Mekhi Becton's like 6'8" or some shit, or 6'7" himself. 6'7", 6'6". I think it is. But yeah, that'll be the biggest matchup I think Mekhi Becton will have all season.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully DeForest Buckner is going to be able to abuse a rookie left tackle. We'll find out. Anyway, move on. This is the money game. This is going to be the Fox game of the week here, baby. It's the Cowboys in CenturyLink Field at Seattle. So, Martin, let's start here. Quarterback battle. By the way, it's 2 dual threats. 2 of the best dual threats in the game.
Oh, come on. You're not going to really put...
You
really putting Dak as one of the best dual threats?
Are you serious?
Bro, he's not that good.
Wow, you hating.
I'm not hating. I'm just spitting facts. I don't think... He's not that
hating,
good. Bro, right? He's not that good.
You
really think he's worth $40 million?
Hey, Martin, I'm hashtag fuck Dallas respectfully. Hashtag fuck Dallas, but like respectfully or whatever. But like, I'm not here to question the skill level of Dakota Prescott.
I am. He's not that good.
Especially, like, you saw what he did last week. What are you talking about? Oh, my God. Whatever. All right. Martin's hating on this one, so he's naturally biased. But I would still take the Seattle Seahawks regardless of what happens. This will be an interesting matchup because both of these teams have been kind of playing really shitty defense. One of them has not been getting any any pressure, like up front. Like Matt Ryan was able to run pretty easily in his game versus the Seahawks. I'll be interested to see if Dak Prescott is able to take advantage. This may be the easiest defensive line. Yeah, this will be the easiest defensive line that Zeke Elliott's had the chance to run against this season. Yeah, it is. This is the easiest defensive line he's had a chance to run against this entire season. So, no disrespect to my dude Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. I'm wearing my Seahawks shirt right now, out of respect. But nonetheless, I expect them to ball out pretty hard in this one, man. I expect Zeke to go out here and be pretty effective, especially with the skill of his offensive line. I know Tyron Smith isn't available, but hopefully he'll be back soon. Defensively is the biggest concern. They have the Cowboys defense is getting like 0 pass rush, Martin. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, they haven't been able to stop anybody. I mean, the only reason they beat the Seahawks is because their offense decided to wake up and not turn the ball over in the second half, like you mentioned on Tuesday's podcast.
The Falcons,
and
the
Falcons
like mixed up.
Oh yeah, my bad. But this one for me, better offense is the Seahawks. Better defense is the Seahawks. If this one's close, I'd be surprised. Russell Wilson's going to tear the Cowboys apart again. He's going to continue his march towards the MVP at the end of the season. I disagree with you on Dak Prescott. I've never once been impressed by a Dak Prescott performance, even though he threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. It's because he had to, especially after his turnovers and everything in the first half.
But the fact that he's capable of doing
it was against the Falcons. It is what it is. Give me the Seahawks.
And it's capable of doing. Okay. All right. We're not going to. All right, man. We'll see. Yeah, Martin's hating, guys. He doesn't want to admit it, but
I'm not hating.
He doesn't want. He's got that systemic hate, that systemic Dallas hate.
No,
it's so built in that he doesn't even notice.
No, I just don't. I've never really been impressed with Dak Prescott. I'm sorry.
So there you go. We're both going Seahawks, but for very different reasons.
Yeah.
I respect this one. This would be a good matchup for the Seahawks secondary because, like, let's be honest, that's like the biggest weakness on that team right now. Jamal Adams, great safety, but corner across the board, been a little sketchy. Yeah. And they have an overwhelming amount of high-quality receivers for the Dallas Cowboys. Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Denver Broncos, man. Oh, Martin. Blake is back.
Yeah, he is.
Blake Bortles has returned.
Yes.
Like he never left.
Signed for the Broncos this week. He'll be backing up, right? Jeff Driscoll, the Broncos quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos 0-2 on the season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady, they've been struggling to say the least. They're 1-1. I could see a world where the Broncos win,
Oh
but
yeah, no doubt.
I in a matchup where it's Tom Brady versus Jeff Driscoll, I don't really have to say anything else. I'll just leave it at that. One dude's considered the GOAT of all time. One guy has been a backup his entire career and hasn't really done anything impressive except keep the Broncos in the game last week against the Steelers. Give me the Buccaneers.
Yeah, so the reason I take the Buccaneers on this one is the faith in their defense up front, especially considering how talented they are. They were really good. They were really high quality defense last year. Now they're going up against a guy who, in theory, is worse than Drew Lock. And if they had Drew Lock, I would give them a swinging chance on this one because I saw what the Panthers were capable of against them. With Teddy Bridgewater and a shit defense, as far as we understand right now in the Panther season. So the Broncos coming out here, they've been playing high quality defensive football this season so far. This will be their best and biggest offensive challenge so far this season, based off the two teams that they have played. The Steelers offense is not as stacked. There's still some guys out there that are proving themselves, like trying to say that Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson are better than Chris Godwin, who, if he does play, we hope he does. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, that's a reach, like a big reach, to try and say that those two guys are better. But especially combined with the running back situation, you see they mixing it up a little bit. They're kind of doing the little everybody gets in on here. Everybody got a little action last week. Ronald Jones II got a rushing touchdown. LaShawn McCoy had a receiving touchdown. They got it mixed up in there. Leonard Fournette had the game clincher or whatever. They mixing it up a little bit. I like what they're doing over there because it seems like they're trying to make efforts to keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands, which we can all agree may be a good idea later on in the season. Anyway, I'll take the Bucs, man, but the Broncos, I'm interested to see if they can make this game close because then we might have to start talking about the defense a little bit more, right, Martin?
Agreed. I'm looking here, again, an update on Chris Godwin. He has officially cleared the concussion protocol, so he looks good to go this week.
Dope. Move on. This is the last game before Sunday Night Football.
Saving the best for last, of course, yes.
Honestly, this is going to be a bad game. It's the Lions versus it's the Lions at the Cardinals. I'll take the Cardinals in this one, man.
Do I really need to say and go into detail about why I think the Cardinals are going to win? I've been saying it since before the season started. Give me everything that the Arizona Cardinals are doing on both sides of the ball.
Put it in my veins.
I even put that out on Twitter at @MartinPape_. They put out a mic'd up of Jordan Hicks, and before the season started, before D-Hop was traded, I would not have watched a mic'd up video of Jordan Hicks on the field, but put it in my veins. Give me everything Arizona Cardinals right now. If this one is close, congrats to the Lions. You're about to get blown out. You're about to see why Kyler could also be in the running for the MVP. You're going to see why DeAndre Hopkins is, again, the best wide receiver in football. Give me the Cardinals.
This dude said in the running for MVP.
You can't deny it through 2 weeks.
Yes, I can.
He's the first. Hold on, while you talk,
Martin, name a good team that they've beaten.
The San Francisco 49ers. We agreed on Tuesday that they are they're mediocre. They're mediocre. That's what we agreed on.
By the way, the loser's curse is in full effect for the San Francisco 49ers. Their plane got hit coming back from New York. Their MRI machine got broken. The number of injuries they've racked up. They're starting Nick Mullins this upcoming weekly. Luckily for them, they're playing the Giants, which I don't know how you play the Giants when you're on the fucking the 49ers are on a first place schedule.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
So here's one of the stats for the dual threat Kyler Murray. As of right now, he has more rushing yards than Christian McCaffrey, more rushing touchdowns than Ezekiel Elliott's, and more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes through 2 games. I'm trying to find the other one where he's the first quarterback in NFL history to have, I believe, 500 rushing yards or something. I'm trying to find it. I can't I've got so many likes of the Arizona Cardinals stats, I can't find it right now. But
So
if you want
while you're doing that, Frosty Nug said, "Yo, Ashton, what's up, man? What's the deal?" By the way, we got one more. We got Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Then we're doing UFC nickname picks. If you are new to the show, we look at every single UFC card, and instead of giving you like that high quality MMA breakdown, because we could, if we wanted to, we could watch all these fighters' old fights and determine whether or not we feel like they're going to win when they match up against each other. What we will do though is not do that, and instead determine who's going to win based upon the most important factor in any fight. You guessed it. Nicknames.
All right, Ashton, here's my stat. And Frosty's in the chat saying, "Yo, Ashton,
thanks, Frosty.
the
Thanks,
Texans
Frosty.
suck." He's come in and
love
said
how
the Texans
Frosty's-
suck 3 different times today.
Frosty Nugs in the chat on Twitch TV at Broke Boy Sports. Make sure you go follow us there. Shout out to him for making it a part of his daily mission to say the Texans suck. And I can't wait. I can't wait until that sweet victory on Sunday versus the Steelers. And then Frosty Nugs will still say the Texans suck. It won't matter. But
they could win by 100 and you'll say they suck.
It won't make a difference, as a matter of fact. But anyway, we got 2 more games here. Martin's about to.
I've got the stat.
Everybody's been waiting. They've been edging, and now Martin's about to make them bust. Go ahead, Martin. Read your stat off,
God. All right. Kyler Murray is the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era. Ashton, do you know how far back that goes? That goes back all the way to the 1950s.
Goes all the way back to Super Bowl 1.
Yes. That's 54, 55, something like that now. Anyways, first quarterback in Super Bowl era to pass for more than 500 yards and rush for over 150 yards through the first 2 games of the season. He's currently at 516 passing and 158 rushing. You can say he hasn't played tough competition, but you can't deny the fact that he's the first quarterback to ever do that. Dual threat. He is the definition.
When they put the trash in front of you, you got to eat it sometimes. It's the only food that's available. You can't do anything about it. If somebody puts a McDonald's McDouble on the table in front of you, you're hungry. You don't have any other choice. You got to eat the McDonald's double. That's how it is.
Give me all the Cardinals. Frosty's saying that I have so much Cardinal you-know-what in my mouth. I don't know how he is talking right now, dude. I don't know how I'm talking either. Ugh. Give me it all.
Somebody clip that. Anyway, for later when they don't even come close to making the playoffs.
Oh my God! Don't even.
You're gonna be so heartbroken when they take that first L.
I mean, the first L will come against the Seahawks.
By the way, your predictions, they're making the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's gonna be Cardinals Steelers in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now.
Rematch. Remember that one? That was a good Super Bowl.
It was.
Dude, the Cardinals fans are still talking about that. They're like, 2 feet on top of each other does not make 1 foot. And I'm like, come on, man. Yes, it does. Like, it does. Anyway.
Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football. Oh God. Don't. I mean, we might have to call the cops on what Aaron Rodgers is about to do to that old man Drew Brees on the other side.
The fuck you tour continues. Yep. We literally said it at the same time. Yep.
The Green Bay Packers are taking on the New Orleans Saints, and the revenge tour continues. And the next stop is New Orleans, Louisiana. Burn down the Superdome. Yep. Anyway, yeah, the Packers, man, they've been on fire, man. I will say this, Martin. We've already talked about this. The NFC North is probably the worst division in football. Mm-hmm. Not probably, it is.
Not the Packers' fault. Not the Packers' fault. It's the other teams that are in the division's fault.
It's everybody else. Yeah. Everybody else in attendance. You're not doing your job. You're not doing what you need to do. The Packers have been on a tear the first 2 weeks of the season. Aaron Rodgers is proven to be a man of consistent and relentless hate in his heart. Which, by the way, you got to respect it to a certain degree. People trying to test this gangster on a regular basis. And he said, I guess you're going to have to find out. Like, I made it to the NFC Championship game last year. I guess you're going to have to find out. I'm going to have to hurt you. Going to have to hurt him real bad. So, the Packers, man, passing-wise, offensively, well, I mean, you can say offensively because Aaron Jones has been just dominating up front. They look like they are unabated by any opponent that gets put in front of them. Defensively, they have a young corner in Jair Alexander who's been looking pretty on point here. Yep. This will be an interesting matchup for the sake of the versatility that the Saints offense has. combined with like if Michael Thomas is actually going to be back at 100% this upcoming Sunday.
I'm trying to get
And
an update right now, and the last one I see is he's still doubtful.
yeah, doubtful is going to be a rough one, man. It puts more pressure on Emmanuel Sanders to go out there and make plays happen. Jared Cook for sure too. But Alvin Kamara, man, you saw what he was able to do on Monday Night Football, man. Like even when they knew he was like the best option running and passing that they had on the field, he still went out there and tore it up a little bit, man. I'm interested to see how that works out for the Packers because I mean he is but one man, but we've seen what one man can do on a football field when you give him the ball at the right time, right?
Yeah, Ashton, I'm looking up the update on Michael Thomas. This is an interesting story that Adam Schefter put out on ESPN. So, was this the 20th? So 4 days ago, last Sunday, they sent Michael Thomas to Green Bay to get a check or like to get looked at from the Green Bay Packers doctor. He's Dr. Robert Anderson, and then they're also gonna let him do like a follow up on Sunday.
Isn't Robert Anderson like a ACL guy?
No, that's his brother. That's John. Is it like John or James Anderson?
That's the super duper ACL. By the way, there's a podcast that has an interview with him out there, and he just drops like, basically he spends the whole time talking about like, yo, like, U Sports is wilding. That's literally his whole point. He's like, U Sports is crazy. Like the number of kids that he's had to operate on for ACL surgery is insane.
Yeah, and apparently he's not doubtful. He's questionable for Sunday's game, and the Saints are actually going to let this doctor Robert Anderson take a look at his ankle before the game to see if he's good enough to go up against the Packers, who Dr. Anderson, who is actually the team's doctor. So that's an interesting little scenario to watch, especially if you have Michael Thomas on a fantasy team or if you just enjoy watching him play football. Drew Brees hasn't been throwing the ball downfield. He was it 4.2 yards or something like that against the Raiders last week, which was the second lowest since Brett Favre with the Vikings. On the other side of the ball, you got Aaron Rodgers. Was it Olivia Munn or Danica Patrick that came out that said he's not able to satisfy women? Because since that has been said, Aaron Rodgers is just putting up a fucking middle finger.
Said that?
Yeah, you haven't heard that? He's not like. One of them said like their past boyfriends haven't been able to let them get off, and everybody thought she was taking a dig at Aaron Rodgers.
By the way, ladies, ladies, a lot of you can say that. A lot of you can say that. Based off of the memes that I see on the internet, a lot of you can say that. So,
yeah.
And based off of like me knowing dudes, a lot of you can say that. So, yeah.
Yeah, better offense right now is the Packers. Better defense. I don't know. The Saints didn't play too well defensively against the Raiders. They did all right against the Buccaneers. The Packers haven't really played a tough offense yet. The Vikings and the Lions, and they've given up some points in both games. 34 for 121 last week.
Yeah, this is the best team that they've played the entire season.
Yeah, so. I'm still gonna go with the Packers. As long as the fuck you tour continues, I'm not wavering from picking Green Bay. So yeah, give me Green Bay on this one.
Maybe this is that game where Drew Brees fires up that old cannon one more time and see if he can chunk it downfield a little bit more. But, downfield doesn't really matter, especially if you're out there getting first downs, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're keeping the creativity and the variability of the offense alive, you can work your way downfield. So I'm interested to see the pressure, like how pressure works out for these guys. Because if they get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, dual threat quarterback, Drew Brees, single threat quarterback. So the pressure situation is what I have to focus on this one because I really haven't heard. I've watched a little bit of the Packers when they played the Lions. I saw them like come back and annihilate them, and I was like, all right, next game. But yeah, the pressure situation that they're going to put on them defensively because once again, Martin, we know this. You give Drew Brees time, it's bad time. It's bad news for everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's the number one thing to focus on in that game. But yeah, I'll take the Packers, man. Like I'll take the Packers just off common sense. By the way, this is very much setting up to be the week where everybody pulls the upset because that happens like once a month in the NFL because all the games seem like they're a little too easy and all the experts are just like, oh, these are layups. And I was like, yeah, that's not how this game works. Like this game didn't get famous because everybody went out there and just kicked everybody's ass when they were supposed to, right?
That's why they're not playing. You don't play the game on paper, Ashton, is another old adage.
A billion times yes on that one. Sunday Night Football. So that was Sunday Night Football. Monday night.
Game of the week.
people are going to be slightly erect from Friday until Monday night, Martin, on this one. The Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning, defended Super Bowl champions, take on the Baltimore Ravens with the By the way, this is how unanimous the decision for Lamar Jackson to be MVP for the regular season was. They didn't even read off the other nominees. Remember that? Paul Rudd was just like, NFL MVP goes to Lamar Jackson. They didn't read off the nominees for the second and third place because there was no second and third place. As there shouldn't have been, because Lamar Jackson, as me and my friend group like to call him, he is the devil. We call him the devil because he has that kind of, like, his powers are that supernatural. Lamar Jackson has clearly sold his soul for great football powers, and I can't blame him.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to win, man.
Gotta do what you gotta do to get these dubs. Apparently it doesn't work in the playoffs, but that's a decision for another day. Kansas City Chiefs coming off a game where they played against the Chargers, right? Chargers looked pretty fucking good with Justin Herbert as the quarterback there. Winning the overtime, that's a divisional matchup. The Baltimore Ravens coming off another victory versus the Houston Texans, right? We mentioned on Tuesday how, like, the only person who's ever been able to get the best, really just dominate any team led by Deshaun Watson is Lamar Jackson, and that's understandable. We got great defensive lines because the pressure that the Ravens have been putting on opposing quarterbacks this season has been out of this world. The pressure that the Chiefs defensive line has been putting on people, mostly coming from Chris Jones. Just make that be known that a defensive tackle out here doing big things. Put some respect on the big man's name. Good stuff. The other one, next level, you look at it on defense, linebacker situation, Patrick Queen, rookie linebacker.
Yes.
He's a beast, no doubt about that. But we look at also the run defense for the Kansas City Chiefs, and let's be honest, like, overall the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs is worse objectively than the Baltimore Ravens, especially considering the competition that they've played all season. So this is the first real test for the Chiefs offense. I'll take that back. They dominated the Texans. We assume the Texans have a good offense to a certain degree. They're decent offense, man. Let's be for real. The competition level that the Chiefs have played to start the season, way higher than what the Ravens have played.
They've got one common opponent that both have single-handedly easily beaten, which is the Houston Texans. Week 1.
That's true.
You can kind of.
Why you always talking about the past, man? Why you always bringing up the past? No.
The Chiefs are kind of. I wouldn't say they've stumbled through the first 2 games, but I think everyone had really high expectations.
Martin, people asking questions.
Yeah.
People asking those questions right now. This is a good chance. This is a good opportunity. This is the best team that they're probably going to play all season, to be honest with you, unless they play the Seahawks like later on. But
for me, if you remember back a couple of years ago, when the Kansas City Chiefs played the Rams in the Coliseum on that Monday Night Football game that ended with like 100+ points.
Monday Night Football, the greatest football game of all time, or the greatest Monday Night Football game of all time.
This game could turn into that because Lamar Jackson, I don't think him or Patrick Mahomes want to have that conversation of like the other one is better than they are type of thing. One of them's got a $500 million fucking contract, $500 million. The other one's still on his rookie deal. Better running game, I think the Ravens. Better defense, I think the Ravens. It's not the playoffs, so Lamar Jackson is not going to struggle. Give me the Baltimore Ravens.
Who do you give the creativity angle to? Because they play with 2 totally different styles.
2 totally different offense, yeah.
Right, it's wild because they look similar, but to, like, if you know football, the Ravens are using an offense that is from like the fucking 80s.
Yeah.
Like, they're using an offense where they're like, well, we can just run through them.
We're just going to smash you in the mouth, and you have to stop us.
And then, like, when that and sometimes they mix it up there and they're like, are we gonna run through them? Are we gonna run the ball, or am I gonna run out? It's like, what's the deal? It's like, can you figure it out? Oh, you hesitated. Now they're gonna run through you. So that's their offense. They use a shit ton of run offense to set up a lot of the pass stuff and actually set up the third dimension of their offense, which is the option stuff that Lamar Jackson is in charge of. They run out of the I formation a good chunk of time. They have 3 running backs. I forgot about Gus Edwards. Everybody does, but Gus Edwards plus J.K. Dobbins plus Mark Ingram. Those guys are, I mean, they out here to hurt people.
Yep.
They out here for a good time and a long time because they're gonna be hitting you in the face the whole game. And the Chiefs, on the other hand, we know what they're about. They're all about the 3-card Monty game. They got like 5 cards, but we can talk about that later. They have Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and then add Mecole Hardman and maybe Sammy Watkins, maybe their 1 card. And you got to figure out where the ball's at. They're constantly like shuffling around. And for the most part, most people guess wrong, right, Martin? He's like,
true.
If they were guessing right, they wouldn't be Super Bowl champions. So that's the versatility in the offense, the creativity on the higher end for sure when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll take I want to take the Ravens so bad on this one just because I like the Ravens style of football far more than I like the Chiefs style of football. Even though they're both beautiful ways to play the game, I like the Ravens a little bit more. I'll take the Ravens, man.
Yeah, I'm leaning Ravens on this one. Just because they've looked the better team through the first 2 games, that's not discrediting the Chiefs. It's just the Ravens they're almost in that Aaron Rodgers fuck you tour. After what happened last season, everyone, including myself, kind of ragging on Lamar Jackson not being a playoff player. The Chiefs, on the other hand, they struggled against the Chargers with a rookie quarterback, and now you're going up against the reigning MVP. Like I said on Tuesday's episode, were the Chiefs looking ahead? Did they look past the Chargers and were waiting for the Ravens? We'll have to wait and see on Monday night. But it's a great slate of games. Give me the Ravens as well. High scoring game. Hopefully it's entertaining. Hopefully every game this weekend's entertaining. Hopefully the injuries stay down. But those are our pick'ems. Ashton, we've got one thing left to do if we're gonna get out of here before 2.5 hours of the podcast.
Oh, by the way, I just gotta let the people know. I just opened the best truly flavor known to man, lime. Just so we're all clear.
Apparently, but really quickly, while we're talking about hard seltzers, apparently there's a Bud Light Platinum hard seltzer now.
That's so. Platinum just has a higher alcohol content, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are weird.
Yeah. So those are our picks, Ashton. Let's get into UFC 253. We have been waiting for this one since it got announced. The last style bender going up against Paulo Costa, and also we've got was it Dominic Reyes and Jan Blankowicz? I'm so bad with names, but we've got an awesome card to kick off. What are we calling this? Fight Island 2? Is this
Fight Island?
We're back in Abu Dhabi for this one, and boy, are they not kicking it off with some fireworks. Let's go through some nicknames. Let's get some picks, and let's get out of here in the next 10 minutes.
So first fight does not have nicknames. It's Danilo Marquez. He's 6'6", by the way. This is a light heavyweight bout to start the fight off, which should be fun. Light heavyweights are usually really fun to watch. His opponent, Russian dude, not Dagestan, but his name is Kadis Ibragimov. He's 6'2". He's 8-3. Neither one of those guys have a nickname. This is the next one. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Juan Francisco El Guapo Espino Dipa.
Is he eligible with the El Guapo? Are we gonna let that one?
Is it El Guapo or is the other El? There's the other El Guapo, right?
Well, for me, El Guapo. Or is he the one? For me, El Guapo is for oh my god.
By the way, El Guapo is Spanish for handsome.
Yeah.
Who is El Guapo?
Joaquin Guzman.
Okay, if you're in the chat, man, hit me up and let me know, should El Guapo count? By the way, one of the rules is you can't have another famous athlete's nickname.
But yeah, it's not an athlete. It's the drug lord himself, El Guapo. So if you're making your nickname the same as Joaquin, we'll have to see about that one.
We got next up here, Jeff Lights Out Hughes.
That one's been used a few times.
From Canton, Ohio. So he's from like old school part of Ohio. Canton, Ohio. We move on here. Let me see where this guy's from. All right, cool. Yeah, no, he's not from Dagestan. It's Alexa Kamur. He does not have a nickname. He is undefeated, though. He's one of the few undefeated fighters on this card. He's fighting a man by the name of William Nightmare Knight. His Nightmare is spelled with a K-N. He is from Hartford, Connecticut. Wow. Oh, man. The hometown of No, Hartford is the place where the NHL team used to exist, but no longer exists anymore. He also has an 8-pack. 8-1. He's got 8 TKOs to his 1 loss. He's fighting an undefeated Alexka Kamur.
This is a fight to watch. Like, if you're turning in early, make sure you got this one on TV.
Martin about to be mad as fuck right now.
Why?
Shane Sugar Young.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
He's from Auckland, He's from Auckland.
At least he spells it differently, I guess. But, dude, you can't. There's only one Sugar, and that is Sugar Shane O'Malley.
Actually, there's one Sugar, and it's definitely not Sugar Shane O'Malley, but all right. You guys, the disrespect. Wow. They don't even know what gym this guy fights out of, so that's scary. He's from Slovakia. His name is Ludovic Klein. He does not have a nickname. He is 16-2, though. He's pretty good.
He's on a 7-fight win streak right now. This is his first. This is his first UFC fight.
This guy follows me on Twitter. Jake the Celtic Kid Matthews.
Okay.
I don't even think he speaks English, to be honest with you, bro. Like
he's from Australia. He's from Australia.
Yeah, he's from Victoria, Australia. He fights out of Nexus, which is a gym I have heard of before. 16-4. He's got 7 submissions. That's his go-to there. He is fighting a very familiar name here, Martin. Diego the Nightmare Sanchez.
Oh god, we got 2 nightmares.
Yeah, but spelled differently. The other Nightmare is spelled like night, like the role of
like
night.
Because his last name is Knight. That like he's
yes, it is
William Nightmare Knight. It's a play on his last name.
You should have. If you really wanted to be funny with it, you could have been like William Knight.
Yeah, that would have been great.
But a great KO. He's got 8 KOs, man. Anyway, 30-12. Diego Sanchez has been fighting for a long, long time. If you know MMA, one of the real vets of the game, no doubt. Been holding it down for a really long time. Alexi da Silva Leco is his nickname. Coelho, if you want to look up what Leco means. He's from Brazil. Leko, Leko. Austria Fight Team. He's got 21 wins, 13 TKOs, baby, and 2 losses. Only 2 losses, 1 by decision and 1 by submission. He is from Accra, Santa Catarina, Brazil.
I'm struggling to find his.
Alexi Leco da Silva Coelho. Anyway.
No, it's not. I'm not really getting any type of translation here.
Oh, wow. Did you type in Portuguese? Leco Portuguese to English? Or Leco meaning in English? We'll move on here. While Martin's looking that one up, I'll do this one. Next guy, this is a good one. He's from Auckland, New Zealand, because Israel Adesanya is on this card. And they typically like to lean and like represent the people, right? Like if you're here to watch a New Zealand fighter, he's from Nigeria, migrated to Auckland, New Zealand, fights out of City Kickboxing. This guy is out of City Kickboxing as well. 8-1 in his career, 5 TKOs. It's Brad Quake Rydell.
Okay, not too bad.
Rydell. Got anything? No.
Okay. Well, no. I finally found something in an interview that Alex da Silva did with ESPN. He says his nickname is Leco. It doesn't have a meaning. It's just something people have called me since I was a kid.
Okay.
So you got a nickname with no meaning. Get the fuck out of here.
19-4 is this guy. His name is Zubara Tukov. His nickname, when you say it all together, Zubari Warrior Tugavov.
Okay.
He's from Grozny, Chechnya, Russia.
Oh, we already know.
We know what time it is.
Yeah.
This is all right, Martin. This is what I hate when good names get matched up against guys from Russia. Hakeem Mean Dawudo.
Or is it Mean Hakeem?
No, Hakeem Mean Dawudo.
Okay.
Dawudu. So yeah, he's got like customized shorts that he can't wear in the octagon because it says Mean Hakeem. It says Mean on his right leg and Hakeem on the left. So maybe it is Mean Hakeem on that one. So yeah, he's from Canada.
Okay.
Fights out of Mike Miles Muay Thai and kickboxing and Champions Creed. 11-1 in his career, 7 TKOs, 4 decisions on that one. We mentioned his opponent. His nickname is Warrior. The ladies up on this one. Here we go. Sujata Sarge Eubanks. Sarge is from Brick, New Jersey. From Brick, New Jersey. A literal city is called Brick. If that's not like the toughest, that's the toughest kind of name you can possibly have. She also has rib tattoos, which if you know anything about tattoos, that's not the spot. So yeah, she coming out here like, that's what her mantra is. That's what her brand is. She out here to hurt somebody. She is 5'4", puts her on the taller end for some of the ladies in the UFC. Her opponent. Oh yeah, this young lady, you know who she is. It's Ketlin Fenomeno Vieira.
Fenomeno, for anybody that doesn't know, that's Portuguese for phenomenon. I know that one. I don't even have to look it up.
Manaus, Amazon. She's from the Amazon.
Oh, lock that one in.
That's about like saying from parts unknown. So 10 wins, 1 loss for her. The Phenomenal.
Yep.
Moving on here. Oh, look at this. Martin, guess who's back?
Who is it?
Brandon Raw Dog Royval.
Oh,
he won earlier in quarantine, and he talked about he's from I thought he was from Colorado, but he's from Inglewood, Colorado. But anyway, he talked about in quarantine how he had to go to work after he got into his first UFC fight early on in quarantine. And he also talked about how like a bunch of chicks are trying to hit him up. They're like, "Oh my God, I saw you on TV," and all this kind of stuff like that. Anyway, don't let the fame go to your head. Raw Dog is back, baby. And you know what time it is. He's fighting, hold on a second here. Kai Kara Don't Blink France.
Okay.
His nickname is Don't Blink. This is pretty good. He's from Auckland, New Zealand as well. He's 21-8, 9 TKOs and 9 decisions.
Or this guy's, I think it's Kai Don't Blink Kara France. I think Kara France is a 2-part last name.
Okay, my bad.
No, it's okay. I typed it in and that's how it came up like that.
Jan Blankowicz is fighting. He is from Szczecin, Poland. He's 6'2". He's fighting Dominic the Devastator Reyes. Victorville, California, which, by the way, if you were any type of athlete, you would want to be from Victorville, California. He's 6'4". He's got a massive, I think Jan is 6'2". Hold on, let me check. Yeah, 6'2". On this one, it's a light heavyweight matchup here.
For the belt.
Dominic Reyes is the guy who went the distance with John Jones, and a lot of people thought he won.
A lot of people thought he won.
And he's been going around talking about how he is he's been going around talking about how like John Jones ran away from the division because he didn't want to fight him again. Yep. This is interesting. That's a take. It's a take. No disrespect on that one. The last one here, this is the main event. The one we all are here for. 2 undefeated fighters with the championship on the line. From Lagos, Nigeria, Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya, the reigning champ, fighting up against the undefeated Paulo Enrique Borshina Costa. Nickname is Borshina.
I'm looking it up right now to see what that means. It stands for, Ashton, do you know?
No.
Little Rubber, because it's a nickname given to him because his older brother was named the Rubber Man.
Okay, that's a good one. Little
and
Rubber.
For those that don't know, rubber, obviously here in America, rubber is a condom. In other parts of the world, a rubber is actually an eraser. So I think that's what it means. I mean, I hope he's not little condom, because that would be unfortunate.
That would be like big condom. Yes. Anyway.
Both undefeated fighters, Ashton. This one, this one's got bad blood. If you've been following the UFC over the past year or so, since Israel climbed to his fame and took the title, Paulo has been calling him out. He's been at his fights. Israel flicked him off and won.
Israel's called him a balloon animal, which some people at a different time would call it as a subtle way of talking about what somebody injects into their body. Anyway, That's what they used to call. That's what they used to say about dudes who had like used to use roids and shit like that. Their back looked like balloon animals.
Yep.
I don't know if anybody knew that, but yeah, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. Two undefeated fighters. You don't get this too often. Two undefeated fighters. One's a champion. One's the number one contender. Paulo Costa like broke his jaw and couldn't fight on time or whatever. He broke his jaw in training. Now he's back. Now he's talking shit. They got beef. They're trying to get this money. I'm here to watch them. They're here to take my money.
Yeah, this one is Israel is one of my favorite fighters, as a lot of people know. He brings his nickname is Stylebender, and he actually brings some style. His entrances are something to watch. It'll be interesting to see what he does if he comes into the ring. Of course, I don't believe there's any fans going to be in attendance, so maybe it'll just be like a dance or something. But I'm not the biggest Paulo Costa fan. I think I do agree with the last Stylebender when he says that. He may or may not use some roids to help him get to where he is today. Who fucking knows?
Wow,
But
you just gonna throw that out there about a fighter, man? That's
I'm
loose.
just saying. His body don't look natural, Ashton. That's
man. You hating on a man who put a lot of hard
hey,
work in.
I mean,
body,
maybe he
man.
did. Maybe he did. I'm just saying. So we need to get 5 picks here. So I'm gonna give an honorable mention to William Nightmare Knight, using Knight in his nickname, but we're not going to pick it this week. And then I've got a tough one because I like both the nicknames, even though it's just Warrior for Zubaira. I'm going to actually go, my first nickname pick is going to be Mean Hakeem Dawado. I hope I didn't butcher that too hard. That's going to be my first pick. Second pick on here is going to be Ketlin Phenomeno Vieira, the phenomenon. You can't be using names like that unless you back it up. Kai, don't blink, Cara France. That one's a good one. Hopefully that means he's good against some knockouts. And then the 2 championship fights, I've obviously got to go make some picks in this one. Yan, if you had any sort of nickname, I'm picking Yan, but unfortunately he doesn't. And so I am reluctantly and not too thrilled that I'm picking Dominic Reyes. He did, in my I don't know. The jury is out on if he did actually beat John Jones. I do agree with him that maybe John Jones ran from him so that he didn't actually lose to him. But give me the Devastator. It's a fucking awesome name to go with Dominic the Devastator. That's a good one. And I don't even have to say who I'm picking in the main event because you all know I stand for Israel Adesanya. I do. I love his charisma. I love his fighting. People can say he was boring in the last fight that he was in. That wasn't his fault. That fucking Romero stood there and tried to just bore everybody to death. Give me this last Stylebender.
Shout out to the last Stylebender. I'm a big fan as well, man. The dude's a beast, especially for a smaller dude in his division. Yoel Romero is a genetic freak, by the way. If you never heard his story, I don't often suggest you go listen to Joe Rogan podcast, but you should definitely check out the episode with Yoel Romero because he talks about being in the Cuban Wrestling Federation, the organization now dedicated, like legit, he joined wrestling so that he would have consistent food. And then he found out when he got into the wrestling, the way it works for Cuba, because they produce so many champions or whatever, Olympic champions. The way it works in Cuba is like the best wrestler gets the best food. Everybody else kind of gets like a little bit less as time goes on. So it makes them like more competitive and more hungry, like the way you would treat an animal, which is horrible to say. But that's legit where Yoel Romero is from. He's from a tough place. He's a tough guy, and he's 40 plus years old. And I understand he didn't look great in that fight, but dude still got an amazing story, as most of these fighters do. So check that out. Martin, we're done here, man. We're out of here. We're trying to get out of here before the 3-hour mark. Shout out to everybody else who joined us in the stream. Shout out to Frosty Nuts for coming in just to remind me that the Texans suck. We'll find out if that's true a little bit later on this season. I already told you what the deadline is on Tuesday. If you didn't listen to Tuesday's episode, we did a full recap of everything that happened in week 2 of the NFL, our reactions to it, what we thought about it. We gave our picks in this one as well for every single game. I cannot wait until the bye week hits, man, because there's so many fucking games. But nonetheless, make sure you download the Thrive Fantasy app. Use our promo code BROKEBOY. You will get matched up until $50 from the Broke Boy podcast on your first deposit. If you use the code Broke Boy, do it. I got a couple of friends who already utilized it. Got a couple of friends who lost some money, some who won, because that's how it goes. One of those friends is Martin.
Yep,
he got $4. Go out there,
4.
compete. There's not a ton of people on the app, so the competition is still wide open, and it's available for people to, like regular people to still be able to win, not like DraftKings and FanDuel and stuff like that. But nonetheless, check out Thrive Fantasy app. Get ready for this season. Enjoy Thursday Night Football. Enjoy your sports weekend. College football is back.
SEC football this weekend, finally.
So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got to say. Oh, my bad. I forgot to tell him, Martin. Wash your hands, wash your ass, wash your whole body, and don't forget, stay home, Roger.